12 noon for those of you in Western Australia. There's no Cripps, there's no Chera, there's no Mackay. Carlton are actually younger and have less experience on average than the West Coast Eagles this afternoon, despite the fact the Big Birds are without Jimby and without McGovern, both absent from this contest. The Eagles 1-16 on the season, so when you've lost 15 in a row, there's not too many pretty numbers, but their record on the road is particularly grim. Their average losing margin, their past 4 games outside of Perth, is 122 points, and the late change doesn't help them either. Tom Barras is out. He's been replaced in the starting lineup by Luke Foley. Xavier O'Neill is going to be the sub for the West Coast Eagles. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster to call the footy. Good afternoon, Jess.
G'day, Corby. Good to be here. Barras is a big loss for West Coast. When I saw Carlton's outs leading into this game, I thought, oh, maybe there might be a sneaky chance maybe for a really competitive game. Of course, we hope for that, but it's going to be a massive challenge for West Coast coming up against a Blues side that have won their last 4 by an average of 50 points. They're really in great form, particularly here under the roof. So let's see what happens.
It's a real treat to have this combination in our experts chair this afternoon on Grandstand AFL. Former Essendon captain, Essendon champion, happened to play a little bit of footy for St Kilda as well, and Brendan Goddard.
Yes.
Hello, Beach.
You're happy with the combination today, aren't you?
I am. I'm particularly happy with the man sitting on your right, who is the current Essendon captain, 3-time best and fairest winner, dual All-Australian in Zach Merritt. Good afternoon, Zach.
Thanks for having me, mate. I think his BJ was always a part-time footballer, full-time golfer, wasn't he? In the later years.
Not the case anymore, that's for sure. So now you get to see the other side of the fence, Junior. This is his first time on radio behind the glass, so it'd be good for him to get see the other side of it.
We hear a lot about your relationship. You're the current captain of Essendon. Obviously, one of your early seasons, BJ was the captain back in 2016. How much did you learn from Beach on the leadership front?
Very open question, this one.
Yeah,
a lot. Go any direction.
I think he tried to give me the nickname Sponge early days. I think I asked that many questions walking in the door. But yeah, I mean, I was in all day one. Brendan Goddard being a very good player in the competition at the time and had a pretty strong reputation of being a player that could see the game well, but also pretty hard on his teammates. So for me, I was eager to earn his respect from day one, and I think from that and the way I went about it, I think we earned each other's respect and forged a really good friendship and bond on and off the field. And I think we warmed up together 100 times just about and kicked the footy to each other pre-game. So it's pretty funny sitting here now.
We'll ask you more about what happened last night as the afternoon progresses. Unfortunately, not a good night for the Bombers. There's one other game on this afternoon. Hawthorn lead Richmond 3-2 to 1-1. So the Tigers in that mix to try and make the top 8. It's Hawthorn who lead by 13 points at the moment. In fact, you can make that 19 points as Finn McGuinness soccers one through from the top of the goal square. So an early advantage for the Hawks at the G. Set it up for us, Beach and Zach. What are we in for this afternoon?
Well, you and Jess have painted a pretty grim picture, haven't you? So,
you can balance us out.
Yeah,
Beach.
Jess alluded to it's an uphill battle for West Coast. So I think the start's particularly important for them. I know it's an easy thing to say, but a team that's had their struggles, travelling in particular this year, you get off to a poor start at the Marvel Stadium against Carlton, and 98% of the home crowd, the crowd is for Carlton. It makes things really difficult. So probably more for me, looking for a really, I guess, confident, positive start from West Coast. We've seen them probably in the last month or so play some better footy, more consistent footy, but it's almost like they're back to the blueprint of their early days, premiership years of more playing kick-mark game, kind of defending with the ball in hand. And by doing that, it doesn't open yourself up for being scored against back the other way. So when you get speed on the ball and try and move the ball really fast, you open yourself up to turnover and getting scored heavily against and easily against back the other way. So it'll be interesting where they kind of see themselves today and how they attack their offense in particular, because I think that ties in with their defense. But you're looking for Carlton today to put in a pretty strong performance off the back end of a really strong 6 weeks. And what West Coast are struggling with is key defenders, and with the out of Barras today, the Charlie Curnow just may be extending, or has he still got the lead in the Coleman medal? Or he might be getting
Tomahawk might have jumped in.
Might be getting it back today particularly after his last performance over in Perth against West Coast.
Just on the late change, I think I mentioned Foley off the top. It is in fact Bazzo who's in, so Rep Bazzo's going to play as the replacement for Tom Barris. So he comes in as the teenager there, and Xavier O'Neill is going to be the sub for the West Coast Eagles. Meanwhile, it's Lewis Young who's the sub for Carlton. So just getting a few mixed reports, but Rhett Bazzo is definitely playing to fill that key post in defence in jumper number 33 for the West Coast Eagles. Zach, you've been involved in teams that are playing finals, teams that have been in sort of struggling positions. If you're West Coast and a leader in their group this afternoon, and Luke Shuey, how do you sell it to their group on what is going to be an uphill battle?
Yeah, I think as Beach mentioned before, they've sort of gone back to their one wood and their identity, I think, as a footy club, and very much kick mark through 2018-19 when they were winning finals footy and won that premiership. So I think for him, it'll be very much have a crack in the contest, get the ball, try and own the footy, make Carlton defend, which probably hasn't been the absolute strength throughout the year, and go from there. But I think first and foremost, you always want to have a crack at winning the tackles and contested possessions and giving yourself a chance around the footy and going forward, because no matter how good other defences are, I think it's always a challenge when the ball comes in quick from centre bounces here at Marvel.
Yeah, and I think what I witnessed in particular last time I watched West Coast was against St Kilda, obviously, when we travelled over there a number of weeks ago, but it was a stronger performance. They actually were performing, had us at half time, but it was really off the back end of their leaders and their more experienced players. So they've obviously had issues with injuries to their older players this year, but as they get them back, they were the stronger performance. And like most teams, your leaders have to set the way and lead by example, and everyone else kind of behind that falls into place and got no choice but to kind of emulate what their senior leader players are doing. So you're looking at Shuey, particularly when you're starting as an inside mid. It starts there. The games won or lost, as we say quite often. You got a number of players both ends of the ground. Oscar Allen, you could say, although still a young player, is a leader and been forced upon him probably early in his career. Shannon Hearn in defence, so Jack Darling up forward, Cripps. So these guys have to be the one leading, particularly like Zach is alluding to, with the effort and intensity around the footy.
What do you make of the fact the Eagles are more experienced?
Yeah, well, it's probably... I haven't looked at in depth their list, but it just by saying that, I think there's nothing in the middle, I think, for West Coast. And correct me if I'm wrong, you'd know more, mate. You're the...
So they got 5 30-year-olds, 7 premiership players in, and then they've got also 4 teenagers.
So there it is. So there's that big gap where top-end, older, experienced players plus 30, and then there's the guys under 21. There's not much in between. So I think we're all aware that strong lists and strong teams have a lot of guys. They've probably got similar numbers as what we just reeled off, or what you reeled off in terms of over 30 and kind of under 21, but they're really strong in that kind of 21 to 27-year-old age bracket.
5 teenagers, in fact, with Bazzo, the late inclusion. So just to further illustrate that point, we've just had the toss of the coin. Ian Cohen is in the front row of the grandstand for us on the boundary. Good afternoon, Koza.
Yes, good afternoon, Corby. Hopefully this match doesn't interrupt your fanboying there with the boys in the back row. You're doing very, very well. Jacob Wiedering is captaining Carlton in the absence of Paddy Cripps, and he had an early win, and they are going to kick to the left-hand end of your ABC radio. As we've mentioned, Xavier O'Neill is going to be the sub for West Coast, and Lewis Young is going to be the sub for Carlton. Carlton, there's a bunch of teams that have had 5 straight 50-point plus wins, and only Geelong in 1989 and Geelong in 2008 have had more than 5 in a row. Maybe Carlton might join them this afternoon.
Thanks, Koza. The flashing lights, the countdown's on under the roof at Docklands. It is pitched as a sellout. There's still quite a few empty seats. A bit of a tough gig getting in, Beach, with the car park closed. But
some reason always is here at Marvel.
We're here on time, though. We're ready to go for Carlton and West Coast Saturday afternoon footy in round 19 on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
De Koning and Ruck against Williams for West Coast. De Koning chasing after it, so does Kelly for the Eagles. Doherty picks it up for the Blues. Jams it on the boot towards half forward for Carlton. Motlop in a one-on-one. It's brought to ground. Coming through is Cunningham. Spins out of trouble. Gives it to Motlop. He gets the hand pass out to Hewitt, and now to Walsh, who's driven into the turf. We'll have a stoppage inside forward 50 for Carlton.
Blues all in the navy with the white monogram, and West Coast in the royal blue with the gold wings and the white shorts. Forward 50 stoppage for the Blues. Silvani contests the ruck, doesn't win it, but follows up. Hand pass to Doherty. Handball to Hewitt, centre half forward. That's George for Carlton. Gives it to Newman, shoots goalward right to the goal line, and Hoff in the end punches it away from Curnow. Of course, kicked 9 the last time these two teams met, and there's no Barris tonight to try and guard him. 45 seconds in, first score a rush behind for Carlton. Just repeating Barris, the laid out. Rhett Bazzo takes his place. Xavier O'Neill and Louis Young are the 2 tactical subs.
Shannon Hearn to bring the ball back in for the Eagles. Kicks long to the broadcast wing. Darling in the contest, brings it to ground. Petreski-Seaton tracking it towards the boundary line. A kick down the line, but it's been intercepted. Nick Newman with the mark for the Blues on centre wing. Kicks backwards to Wiedering. Point of the centre square. Captaining the Blues today. Kicks laterally to Sard at centre half back. Wanted originally to come out to the broadcast side. Brought back going the other way, then elected to kick short to Kemp at left half back.
Corbin Middlemass, Jess Webster, Ian Cullen on the boundary, Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard, your call team this afternoon on Grandstand AFL as the long kick heads down the wing. Williams in the box seat takes the intercept mark. A 23-year-old. It's a 19th straight game for Bailey Williams. That is the longest streak of any Eagle to have played consecutive games. Shows the turnover they've had in recent times. Carrying the load in the ruck today. Contest kick down to half forward. Allen runs underneath it, spills off the pack to George Hewitt for Carlton. Hand pass away to Doherty, handball to Walsh. Running in the wrong direction, dishes it off to Newman. Pokes his left footed down the boundary line, finds Sard. Marks at half back, he wants to go. Almost tackled by the blind side, got it off to Akers. Handball back to Doherty. Carlton working over halfway. George Hewitt lifts it down the line to Motlop. Kicks for Curnow, half volley pick up. Fend off to Hearn. Charlie's got it 60 out. Under pressure. Hand pass into the path of Motlop. Shoots goalward. Doesn't have enough on it. Touched by Silvani on the line and through for a rush behind. First two scores for Carlton. They're two behinds. The West Coast yet to score.
Well, I was just about to say West Coast are actually small wins early, but just being able to slow Carlton up and get them in a slow play, force them long down the line, and really the first opportunity they get the ball in motion, they look like scoring. So a couple of guys not chasing from behind and then spreading with their opponents, really costing West Coast.
West Coast a long kick into the broadcast wing. It's knocked over the boundary line for a throw in, just forward of halfway. Carlton's attacking half of the ground. A couple of rush behinds early for the first 3 minutes of the opening term on Grandstand AFL. Koning and Williams in ruck. Williams in front position, takes it out of the ruck, then gets the hand pass out to Shuey from the wing. Hand pass to Gaff, and now off to Petreski-Seaton. Half forward, long kick, inside attacking 50. Wiedering in best position, takes the intercepting grab.
So last line of defence for Carlton. Blues kicking towards a locket end of the opening term. Hits up to Koning, takes the sprawling mark. Had a lot of ground late. Dishes off the hand pass to Walsh. He draws Gaff and runs himself. Has a bounce. Heads up to halfway. Kicks to Charlie Curnow. One out in the cage and he beats Hoff. Takes the mark. Just a little fend off. Turns and kicks a low trajectory ball to the goal line and bounces all the way through. It's a horrid kick off the boot. It found its way through the 50 and over the goal line. An untidy start, but a goal to Curnow. And he picks up where he left off against the Eagles. Carlton 1-2 straight, West Coast yet to score. 4 minutes in, Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Zachy, again, they win the ball in their back half and they just move it too easily through the midfield in particular, get it to a one-on-one with Charlie Curnow up against young Huff, is that how you pronounce it?
That's it, yep.
Yeah, I think the shift that Carlton's made the last 5 weeks, particularly after I think they played us, very much a lot more speed on the ball, quicker off half back, happy to play on, give the overlap and getting into guys like Curnow one-on-one. It's pretty dangerous for any defender to play an arguably the best one-on-one player in the comp in huge amount of space, but it's more their pace on the ball.
So Curnow on the board early for the Blues. Koning wins the tap. Williams after it for the Eagles. Can't get a clean possession, picked up by Cunningham of the Blues. Gives it to Hewitt, he's dragged down. Got the hand pass out to Newman and now off to Walsh from the centre circles. Flares the kick out wide. Motlop will run onto it. Has time to gather on the wing. Hand passes defensively to Hollins. Kicks inboard. It's a great kick to find Newman on the edge of the centre square and 50. Sheed stepped over the mark, so Nick Newman will be marched to within scoring range.
What West Coast are really strong at, I will mention a lot today, just the last game that I saw them against St Kilda is their centre square bounce work. So young Bailey Williams, you mentioned him earlier, Corb's just about the opportunity he's now got because of the injuries, in particular Nat Nui, he's been out for a long time, but to their other ruckman, but he did a great job against Rowan Marshall, just getting his hands on the ball. And they were able to get ground position.
Newman, 35 out, directly in front, squeezes it home. Carlton with a couple on the board early. 2-2-14 leading the Eagles, yet to score. 6 minutes played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
It's getting that bit of that transition stuff, Junior, just that once Carlton get the ball and they get speed on it, West Coast are just struggling to slow them up and then find their man in general play.
Yeah, I think around the ground at those stoppages, having Walsh up as a forward, playing as an extra midfielder is a pretty dangerous role. He's such a good runner, runs hard forward and back to challenge both ways. So he's going to be a real challenge to stop for West Coast midfield.
It's not the start you're still looking for, there's no doubt about that. They've had 9 goalless quarters so far this year, but particularly at quarter time, they've only led on 3 occasions this year. Obviously on a 15-game losing skid. Back in the middle, Carlton with the first 14 points of the game. Walsh wins first possession. Hand pass away to Paddy Dow. Hurried kick to centre half forward. Hitting up to meet it's Honey. Can't drop the footy. Spills to Walsh again, who's all over it. Thought he was clipped high. He was. And he gets the free with Duggan to stand the mark. And Walsh can send a deep entry inside the forward 50 onto the chest of Charlie Curnow. And the Coleman medal leaders got it again. 15 out, dead in front.
It's another free kick, which isn't great, but just the ability for West Coast midfielders to get back and to plug those holes. I don't think off a free kick, which we describe as a slow play, so you've got the ability to get numbers back in defence. He shouldn't have that much space.
Curnow kicked the first of the game. He's now got 2. And he is set for a day. We are only 8 minutes in. Carlton 3-2-20. West Coast scoreless. Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
I think the key there is you see Sam Walsh didn't probably know exactly what was forward of him or inside 50 deep, but he's happy to roll, take a few steps and then pick an option on the fly. And I'm sure Charlie Curnow is going to love getting the ball in like that.
Yeah, particularly so much space. We just see on the replay, Dom Sheed just wasn't, I can't say wasn't working hard enough back, but probably not identifying where the dangerous space and kind of using Charlie Curnow as a reference point. Generally, when you've got a team like Carlton, Harry Mackay not playing today, but when you've got such a dominant forward like Charlie Curnow, it's a pretty good idea of where the ball's going majority of the time.
A fast start to the Blues from the restart. De Koning with the tap. Down to Dow. He overran it. Was he held? Yes. A free kick. Paddy Dow in the middle of the ground. Pump the Blues back inside forward 50. A long searching kick with it and with the fist for the Eagles. Towards the boundary line. Silvani in the chase against Cole. Over the line and out of bounds for a throw-in. 45 around from the Carlton goal. Charlie Curnow came into the match on 94 career goals. He's 96 at the moment. 9 minutes into the first quarter, might be set for a big day.
Led to Coleman by 1 and now leads it by 3. Silvani grabs it out of the ruck, forward 50 stoppage, hand pass to Walsh, handball away to Honey, gets onto his left peg, snaps it through for a goal. Welcome back to Josh Honey, and it's all Carlton in the first 10 minutes. 4-2-26, West Coast scoreless. The inside 50 count early is 6-1 Carlton's way, and unfortunately it's a familiar story for the Big Birds. 26-point lead for Carlton. Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard.
Well, I think you said 6-1. They've had 6 scoring shots, so they're running at 100% efficiency going inside 50, meaning score on goals, not goals, obviously. So 4 goals too. That is world record pace. So as we're kind of highlighting, is that when Carlton get their hands on the ball, that was from a forward 50 stoppage. They literally, West Coast Eagles, that is, did literally not lay a finger on them before Honey snapped on his left.
This couldn't have started much worse.
From the restart, De Koning down to Fogarty. Back to De Koning, who was ripped off the footy. It is a free kick. Again, Carlton can move it forward. The hand pass releases Walsh from the centre square. Bullets a pass into the arc. No lobs on the end of it. 45 out from home, 45-degree angle to the left. Career best 4 goals last week for Jesse Motlop and their big win over Port Adelaide. 4th win in a row to the Blues. Back in top 8 contention. What can Jesse do here on the approach? Crosses 50. It's off the side of the boot. Away to the right. Doesn't have the journey. close to the line and eventually pushed over for a throw-in 5 metres around from the right behind post.
Sam Walsh's start, Zach, 7 disposals, 5 score involvements, and plus that last one, which didn't score but led to a shot at goal.
He looks extremely dynamic out of the midfield. I'm sure he's enjoying the opportunity without Cripper and a few others in there today as well. He's getting some more opportunity to go hit to and explode out of those contests.
And the boundary throw-in, he's right there again. Unfortunately, a little high on his tackle, so he gives away a free, and young Chesser is going to get the free kick. Campbell Chesser, one of their top picks from a year ago, goes long out towards half-back, spills down to Petrevski's seat, and the former Blue gives it to Shuey, handball away to Darling. Shoots a hand pass over his shoulder, finds Cripps, and he's tackled and taken down, and we'll have a ball up here. City boundary line. Almost right on halfway, Carlton with the first 26 points of the match, 11 and a half minutes in.
Williams with the tap down to Hewitt. To Cole, close to the boundary line. Got the hand pass away, but straight to Walsh of Carlton, who gives it off to Dow from right half forward into the pocket. Curno's got it again. This time, his shot 40 out, 20 in from the boundary.
This time it came off a bit of pressure. West Coast actually won that from the stoppage. Tried to connect through hands, and then the turnover came, and then there was not only Dow, I think it may have been Sam Walsh involved, but another midfielder out with a bit of space, and it's just hard to stop. Charlie Curnow one-on-one.
Already got 2 this quarter. Can't make it a third. Away to the left for a minor score, but it's all Carlton early here at Docklands. 4-3-27. West Coast yet to score. 12.5 played in the first quarter.
The start of the second term at the G, it's Hawthorn who led it by 6 points over Richmond. Call available of that game through the ABC Listen app. Just look out for the AFL button. So the kick out from the Eagles is coming back as Kemp wins it. Hand pass goes back to Doherty. Sends Carlton inside 50 again. Charlie crashes the pack. No mark. Spills down to Shuey of the Eagles. Hand pass away to Elijah Hewitt. He gives it to Hunt. Goes back by hand to Gaff. And the short kick out to halfback finds Jack Williams. His namesake Bailey in the ruck this afternoon. This is Jack in his 6th game. Yet to win one as an Eagle. Goes all the way back to Duggan. Hand pass away to Hoff. He's got the job on Charlie Curnow, somewhat unexpectedly. Finds Witherden against the boundary line. He chips it short to Chesser, who has it on that City wing.
Looping hand pass back to Witherden. Kick inboard has to be a good one. Oh, Shuey dropped what he should have taken, then has to turn tackler on Cottrell. Forces a stoppage inside the centre square.
There's a bit of that kick mark game that we saw as the first opportunity they've really had a chance to maintain possession and get a bit of confidence with the ball in their hand.
Carlton by 27, De Koning with the tap. And we'll do it all again inside the middle.
How would you play Charlie Curnow, Beach? Particularly, I mean, tough ask for anyone in this team.
I wouldn't have. I would have given the job to someone else.
It's just hands it away towards Petrevski. Seaton his tackle, though. And the umpire said the ball didn't come out legally, so free kick for Doherty. Off sort of more of that sort of aerobic running defender, but...
Yeah, well, I think it's hard for anyone with the ball coming in with so much speed. And
Doherty hands it to McGovern, kicks inside 50, turnover. Elijah Hewitt marks centre half back.
Yeah, and freedom. So it doesn't matter who you are. I reckon that that one, you've got to put the onus on the midfielders to not allow so much free ball coming out of the midfield. But if you are stuck in that situation, I think you just need to keep him in front of you. So, and then ask for that extra support. So kind of target a lesser like up forward and try and tag off them. And as I said, when Charlie Curnow's there, I'm going to say 50%, 60% of the time the ball's going to go to him. So use him as a beacon and roll off and support your teammate.
Hoff turns it over, makes up for it, then sends a floater down the wing, and Gaff marks in front of the interchange. It's Carlton by 27 points. Eagles yet to score, 15 in.
Gaff runs on the angle, sends West Coast into attack. Allen in the contest, knocked away from him, picked up by Marek, back to Allen on the right foot, snap it curling, but not quite there. West Coast on the board. It's all Carlton 4-3-27 to the Eagles, 1 behind, 15 played opening term on Grandstand AFL. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, just the energy levels, Jess. Carlton, the players are all up, wanting to get back onto the field. Michael Voss coaching, barking instructions, lots of backslapping. The Eagles, less so, and understandably less so after the start they've had today.
Here's McGovern. He's the only one out there. His brother missing this afternoon. And Jeremy through injury. Long kick out to half-back. Silvani paddles it to the boundary line. Hunt tried to keep it alive. It's out now as Walsh and Cunningham knock it out, so a throw-in on the wing. Who plays on Charlie for the Dons, Zach?
Yeah, it's a hard match. I think Jordan Ridley's actually done a pretty good job in recent years, sort of a lanky, longer matchup that reads the ball really well in the air.
Boundary throw in, Shuey breaks one tackle, tries to break a second. Cunningham's got him, holding the ball. Advantage applied. George Hewitt hands it off to Dow. Kicks inside the forward arc. Hoff running back. He's got Charlie Curnow over his shoulder. Hoff paddles it out in front, trying to run onto the footy at half-back. He fumbles. Charlie soccers it forward, now to play. And a boundary throw in, right foot. No, deliberate.
They're red hot onto that, aren't they?
This is Jimmy Bartel had this observation during the week that, anything that's soccered forward, they seem to be calling as insufficient intent.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, no, deliberately, the ball's oval shape, but I deliberately kicked it towards a boundary.
Have you had any instruction for that as players?
There's been no communication at clubland to shift that interpretation.
I think that's more prevalent these days, where there used to be some communication if the interpretation had been changed. Now they just radio silent.
West Coast kick it long down the outer side. Intercept grab from McGovern and 50. Ball was knocked out of his hands. So Mitch McGovern will be marched 50 metres. Is within scoring range.
Just compounding issues with free kicks. They'd given away probably 3 earlier in the midfield. A couple of those coming from centre square bounce, which resulted in direct goals. So another one now where they're just giving away 2. This is their second 50-metre penalty. That's a shot on goal. 35 out in a side angle.
And Mitch McGovern to continue this strong start to Carlton under the roof. Shot is on its way. And it's away to the right. One behind. Carlton lead by 27, 4-4-28. A one behind. 17 played opening term.
4 minutes into the second term at the G. It's Richmond by 7, so they did trail by 19 points. Kicked the last 4 goals in quick time against Hawthorn. The ball's brought into Hacksaw Liam Duggan, who marks at half-back. He goes short to Witherden. 27-point lead for Carlton.
Did you say Hacksaw?
Hacksaw Liam Duggan, like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It's a long kick from Witherden. All the way down the wing on the city side of the ground. Spoilt from the back by Kemp. Comes down to Kelly, though, of the Eagles. And pass to Cunningham, and he's tackled on the wing, city side. Laid out for the Eagles, didn't help their cause. Tom Barris out of the side. Rhett Bazzo replaces him. Well, for Carlton, they lost Martin after the teams came through. No Cripps, no Chera, no Mackay. And the restart. The Motlop tries to usher it out the back door. Comes West Coast way. Shuey attacks it at pace. He's met solidly in the tackle immediately. And a ball up again, Logo City Wing. Grandstand AFL, Corbin Middlemash, Jess Webster, Ian Cohen on the boundary, Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard. Carlton by 27.
From the stoppage, whistle on play, free kick Carlton. And for a hold as Hewitt releases Doherty by hand. And then off to Akers from the outer wing. Kick in the Curnow direction. Oh, is he nudged out? Umpire said play on. Ball alive inside 50. Ed Curnow picks it up, dribbles it towards goal. And out of bounds. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, looks like the Eagles have made a change. Bazzo was manning up on Curnow for the last couple of minutes. Be interesting to see if the late addition stays on the goal kicker.
So boundary throw in, deep forward. Charlie Curnow rocking here, grabs it out of the ruck, swings it on the right boot. He's got another. Oh, they're becoming the counting numbers for him today. Charlie Curnow, he's up to 3. On the back of 9 the last time they met. Carlton have kicked the first 5. 20 minutes in, 5-4. West Coast 1 behind. Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard.
Bazzo Hoff doesn't matter at the minute, does it?
I think that Tomahawk's been the guy that's changed. I think our forwards go into those ruck situations. Now, it used to be, I think, sort of just get it to ground or compete. Now it's an opportunity for key forwards to get off their man, have a crack at grabbing out of the ruck and have a shot at goal. I think that rule interpretation now that you get an opportunity to get rid of the ball has really changed those defensive 50 stoppages for opposition teams.
Yeah, well, there's no prior anymore, is there? So take it out of the ruck, take the risk of doing it. So now it's all key forwards are putting their hand up, aren't they? Saying, yeah, I'll take the ruck in our full 50. Another opportunity to take and have a shot on goal.
Williams takes it out of the ruck for West Coast in the middle, but his kick is intercepted by Chincotta at half-back for the Blues. Hand passes to Newman. Hand pass to Walsh inside the centre square. Back to Chincotta at centre half-back, then flares the kick out to the outer side to Wiedering. Long kick down the line. Silvani's on the end of it. Hand passes to Hewitt. from half forward, has some room to move. It's a high kick to the top of the goal square. Silvani's there. Ball's knocked to ground. Hunt picks it up. He's tackled. 15 out from Carlton's goal. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Carlton fans have resumed their spots on the plastic. They've all sat back down because Charlie Curnow's on the bench.
That's good news for West Coast, at least at this forward 50 stoppage for the Blues. Silvani grabs it out of the ruck, trickles a kick forward. Hearn had it, gives it to Kelly. High up and under to centre half back. Chincotta, a little nudge on Elijah Hewitt and outmarks him in the one-on-one. And Alex Chincotta, who's got the shaped bonce, is going to have a set shot here from centre half forward right on 50.
I think that's noticeable too, just around the ground with West Coast having a bunch of those younger kind of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, just their ability to win one-on-one contests, or at least halve them. You're going up season against seasoned experienced players that are too good in their contests, and quite often you get a lot of opportunities in a game to do that, and they just can't quite halve those contests.
Chincotta, low trajectory drop punch straight through. A 6-goal outburst to start for the Blue Baggers. A 39-point lead, 6-4-40. West Coast one behind, 22 minutes in.
The amount of goals being kicked in this quarter, it's likely to go 30 minutes, so we've still got about 10 minutes to go.
Charlie Curnow on the bench. If either of you kicked 3 goals in the first quarter and you were sent to the bench, what would you think about that?
You really don't get a say these days. Back in the day, you would have said, I'm definitely not coming off. Back in the day. But do the masses when you're like in under 10s and 12s, just kick 3 in the first quarter, so he's bound to kick 12 today, aren't you?
How many? You think 12?
What did he kick 10 last time?
9.
Yeah, you get the double digits.
He went 2-2-3-2 on that occasion.
Carlton winning out of the middle again. Walsh to Sard from the edge of the centre square. Inside 50, they all fly with it and with the fist. Brings it to ground. Cottrell tracking it. Oh, there's a free kick. Chop of the arms. Free kick, Carlton. Jesse Motlop this time with a free kick. 40 out, slight angle to the left.
So they've had 2 50-metre penalties already. They leave the free kick count 6-3. A number of them have been forward 50.
Well, in the forward half in particular, so a couple from centre square bounce, a 50-metre from centre square bounce. All one way or another, directing direct shot on goal.
Jesse Motlop guides it home. 7 unanswered goals to Carlton in the opening term. The lead is now out to 45 points, 7-4-46 to West Coast, 1 behind. 23.5 played opening term, Grandstand AFL.
Do we get statistics on scoring source for free kicks? Surely that's in there. So that's what I was saying before, just about compounding the problem, right? So they can't get their hands on the footy. West Coast can't get it back off them, and then the opportunity they do get to apply pressure and tackle, they're giving away free kicks. A bit clumsy, a bit lazy, a little bit undisciplined with the 50-metre penalties. It's arguably there, but geez, that happens. I'm going to say 15 to 20 times in a game.
45-point lead for Carlton, the first 7 goals of the match. And the Eagles, the 122-point average losing margin on the road in their last 4 games. It's started poorly for them again. Another stoppage at the centre bounce as DeConey wins it down a second time. To Walsh, hand pass releases George Hewitt. He's off and running on the wing for Carlton. Short kick to Silvani. Marks for the Blues, still on halfway. He draws with it on the mark. Now kicks deep into the left forward pocket. Charlie Curnow, the target, skips out of play in front of him, and a throw in 25 out from the Blues goal. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Well, as you've identified, Charlie Curnow back on, so trouble again for West Coast, and the Carlton fans are so animated behind the bench. They just love seeing him on and off.
All back into play. Silvani taps it down straight to Hewitt of the Eagles. Jams it on the boot. Down the line. Sard, was he held? Yes. Advantage paid. DeConing picks it up. Inside 50 they go. Bounces past Curnow, close to the line with it and happy to see it out. He was pushed by Cottrell. Umpire says throw it in. 10 metres around from Carlton's goal. They lead by 45 points. 25 gone in this opening quarter.
How challenging, Zach, is it to change this on the run? So I'm sure the Eagles hanging out for quarter time. How do they change it in play?
Yeah, I mean, we had it last week with Geelong. We just couldn't stem the momentum, and every time it felt like they went inside 50, it was a score like this one.
Silvani grabs it straight out of the ruck. It all opened up for him at the front of the stoppage, and he can walk it in. Bends it through from the top of the goal square. It is a clinic from the Blues in this opening term. 26 minutes in, 8-4-52. And the West Coast Eagles one behind.
I think things like that, you might be able to accept one of those in a game. Charlie Curnow just a bit strong, too strong in that first contest. It was either against, I think it was against Bazzo in that one, but for it to happen a second time, but once it happens the first time, I think every player's on red alert, and the communication around that, particularly from the defenders who are directly involved, is let's be better in that area. The feedback should be, and they got some experience in their back line. Duggan and Hearn in particular, but for it to happen a second time at such ease, that's starting to be a real concern.
He's up against Bailey Williams. Silvani in that contest has got 10 kilos and 10 centimetres on him. Out of the middle, Dow hacks a kick forward. West Coast have numbers at centre-half back. Cole ran it, picked up by Witherden, shares it with Petreski-Seaton, and now Hunt. Kicks a high kick towards the wing. Long in a one-on-one against Chincotta. Saad comes in to help, keeps it alive. Hand passes to Akers, hand pass backwards to Walsh, tackled over the boundary line by Hewitt. Out of play, boundary throw in right in front of our commentary position here on Grandson AFL. It's Carlton by 51 points.
Plenty to celebrate for the Blues. Walsh, 11 disposals at 100% efficiency, 7 score involvements. And for the West Coast Eagles, there's 4 players that haven't touched the footy as yet. Boundary throw in, Walsh now doing the 1%er on the tackle as he locks up Kelly. Repeat stoppages here on the dockside wing. DeConing holds out Bailey Williams. Kelly had it, lost it in the Walsh tackle. Shuey just knocks it forward, and Sard steps out of the boundary line with the footy. Umpire says insufficient intent to keep it alive. And Ryan Marrick, the 18-year-old, one of 5 teens in for the Eagles to take the free, 70 out. A rare forward 50 entry. Trying to mark it at the back, Wiedering can't do so. Spills to McGovern of the Blues. He's tackled. And a ball up 30 metres out. From the Eagles attacking goal, it's Carlton by 51 points. They've kicked the first 8.
Williams with the tap over his head. Cripps roves. Shot towards goal is missing for a behind. Carlton 8-4-52. West Coast 2 behinds. 28 played opening term.
So 1 for Cripps, 1 for Al on the 2 scores for the Eagles. Both minors, 8-4 to 2 behinds, 28.5 minutes in as Wiedering goes short to McGovern. And now the third 50 in the opening quarter as Marriott steps off the mark. Ian Cohen.
Jack Silvani's just gone down the race. Looks like either lower leg, maybe ankle injury that the doctor was looking at. So we'll wait and see how the most recent goal kicker comes back out.
At 350 in the 1 quarter B, just probably a little overs.
Record pace.
Yeah.
It's 12 for the game.
Doesn't help the Eagles' cause. Short kick to Chincotta, and he goes short back to Wiedering. Oh, slips over as he goes to kick the centre-half forward. And affected the kick significantly. Ends up in the hands of Cole. Centre-half back for the Eagles. Hand pass to Elijah Hewitt. Sends it in the middle of the ground for West Coast. Skidding through Allen. Can't collect. Marrick hands it away to Shuey. Sharp hand pass back to Hewitt. Took on the tackler. He hands it straight to Sard. Surge kick to centre-half forward for the Blues.
Off hands, Cole taps it onto Witherden. Coming through is Honey. Can't take it with him. Shuey laying a tackle to lock the ball up against Ed Curnow. Top of the 50, Carlton into attack.
It's a shootout at the G.
Yeah.
Corpse.
9 goals to 5. Hawks back up by 22 points.
This continues, I'll keep watching that on the television.
They led by 19 points earlier, fell behind, and now they're back in front, Hawthorn, by 22 halfway through the second. First quarter still going here. There's a free kick for a ruck infringement. So another front half free kick. And Tom DeConing's going to get it with the man on the mark 1 step outside the 50. A half-hour mark opening term. 8 goals in the quarter, all for Carlton. DeConing with his left-footed rocket. It's on target. It's there. DeConing has launched it from outside 50 and it travels the goal line. They want to check it with the arc. But this is an enormous roost from the Carlton big man.
Just about to say, has he got it in him? I wasn't sure he did.
The soft signal is touched on the line. Brett Bazzo's one of the players closest to the goal line camera that we can see leaping up. And we've got the blurred image of the ball. And I think this is going to favour Carlton. They believe that all that ball is over the line before any Eagle got a fingertip on it.
Of course they do.
Are you doubting their judgment?
There is insufficient evidence to say whether the ball was touched or after the goal line.
The umpire's call at the time, in the moment, is so important.
And that's the call that's going to stand. Vision inconclusive. It'll be a behind, touched on the line. 8-5 to 2 behinds. Carlton lead it by 51 on the back of that behind as the computer catches up. Thanks, Jess. 32 gone opening term.
Hearn with the kick in for the Eagles. Short to Bazzo in the pocket. Low ball towards Sheed, who's marked left half back close to the boundary line. Incredible start here to the Blues. The first 8 goals of the game. Close to quarter time. Sheed long down the line. Through the hands of Jack Williams. Out the back is Dow for Carlton. That skews off the side of the boot. Out of bounds on the full free kick to West Coast at left half back. Carlton by 51.
Goal to Newcombe at the G, so Hawthorn by 28 over Richmond. And part of that 9-team mix in that mid-table treadmill, trying to qualify for the last 4 spots in the 8. Separated by just a game and a half headed into the weekend. As Cole goes short to Hunt, he goes back to Petrevski-Seaton and retreats to Hearn, top of the defensive goal square, and the switch is on. Got to Brady Hoff. He's got it at half-back. He's at the roll on Charlie Curnow for much of this opening quarter. Curnow with 3 already. Short kick down the line to Chesser. And this man picked 14 back in 2021 in his 10th game. Just the 1 win so far. Goes very short to Cole. One of the 7 premiership Eagles in. Still 90 seconds left in this opening term. First 8 goals of the match for Carlton. The Eagles trying to defend a bit here with ball in hand as the long kick goes to a contest at half forward and Wiedering in from the side. Takes the intercept mark for Carlton at half back. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Good news for Blues fans. Jack Silvani back out. Still seems to be a little troubled by an issue with the right leg.
Wiedering bangs it long down the line. De Koning from the side. Couldn't get his hands to it. Picked up by Cole of West Coast. Hand pass over the head of Chesser. Close to the line. Picked up by Akers of the Blues. He gives it to Walsh. He's brought to ground. Ball up right in front of the interchange gates. Less than a minute to play in this opening quarter. Carlton, the first 8 goals of the game. They lead by 51.
De Koning swats it down, back out of play, so we'll have a throw in between the interchange gates. Do you keep an eye on what the other teams are doing that are in the mix to play finals? Zach, obviously your team, one of those 9 in that mid-table area.
Yeah, it's hard not to look at the ladder and who's playing who in the upcoming weeks. And also the way the trends of the game as well. I think in season the game evolves and things that work early in the year don't work as much late in the year. So we've got to keep watching and learning from other teams.
De Koning wins it down to Dow. Hand pass away to Doherty. Kicks to the goal square. A 2-on-1. And the Roar tells the story. Charlie Curnow has it again.
And again, there was a lack of pressure up the field, wasn't it? Came from a stoppage, from a contest. They tried to get back to support young, was that Bazzo on him then? But you just couldn't get back in time because the ball came out with so much speed and Doherty had too much time and space to kick the ball to Charlie Curnow's advantage and get him 1-on-1.
Charlie Curnow thought about going across the body. He's going to go back and kick the drop punt.
Why is that?
I don't know if he's trying to take the last few seconds out of the clock. He moves in, right on the siren for quarter time. He pokes through his 4th. On the back of 9 last time they met, Charlie Curnow has 4 first quarter goals. And Carlton have put 9 past the Eagles. 9-5-59, West Coast, 2 behinds. A 57-point quarter time advantage for the Baggers. The goal kickers, Curnow's got 4 already. Singles for Silvani, Motlop, Newman, Honey and Chincotta. We thought maybe with sort of Chera, the likely best and fairest winner so far, or at least leading at this stage for the Blues, Mackay, the Coleman medalist from a year ago, Cripps and Jack Martin all out of this Carlton team, that maybe it might have brought the teams sort of a little closer together, while for the West Coast Eagles, they got 7 premiership players in. It couldn't be much more of a gap between them on the scoreboard at quarter time. 57 points is how it sits after the first break. The thoughts of Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard coming up shortly. At quarter time, it is the Blues who lead it by 57 points. On ABC Radio, Sport Digital and through the Listen app, this is Grandstand AFL.
Come in, come in. You just desire diversion and entertainment in the future, I see you entertaining yourself with podcasts on the ABC Listen app, going deep into conversations, delving into stories on days like these, and cackling away to Roy and HG. That is all. I don't want your money. The ABC Listen app is as free as laughter. Now go and download the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
DeConey takes the sprawling mark. Had a lot of ground late. Dishes off the hand pass to Walsh. She draws Gaff and runs himself. Has a bounce. Heads up to halfway. Kicks to Charlie Curnow. One out in the cage and he beats off. Takes the mark. Just a little fend off. Turns and kicks a low trajectory ball to the goal line and bounces all the way through. Walsh can send a deep entry inside the forward 50 onto the chest of Charlie Curnow. Curnow kicked the first of the game. He's now got two. Silvani grabs it out of the ruck. Forward 50 stoppage. Hand pass to Walsh. Handball away to Honey. Gets onto his left peg. Snaps it through for a goal. Welcome back to Josh Honey. Down to throw in deep forward. Charlie Curnow rucking here. Grabs it out of the ruck. Swings it on the right boot. He's got another. Oh, they're becoming the counting numbers for him today. Charlie Curnow. Silvani grabs it straight out of the ruck. It all opened up for him at the front of the stoppage. And he can walk it in. Bends it through from the top of the goal square. It is a clinic from the Blues in this opening term.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from the opening term. We're only one quarter in. Carlton 9-5-59. The West Coast Eagles two behinds. It's Carlton by 57 points. Charlie Curnow with 4. The SMS number 0437 774 774. Dave in Cardinia. Hi guys, what do you think Charlie Curnow's chances are of outscoring West Coast for the second time this year? Well, he's got 4, and the West Coast so far haven't kicked a single goal in that opening term, so they might be flat out getting to 4 by the time we're done this afternoon. It's a wide margin at quarter time. Brendan Goddard.
So very high then, Corbin.
And Zach Merritt on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, everything we kind of hoped didn't happen, just happened.
Do you think they will? Do you think Curnow will outscore the Eagles?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so everything from the contest work, Zach, is probably the thing that's standing out the most, particularly from stoppages and when they're able to get the ball slowed down and get in a contest. They then just can't lay a finger on them when Carlton win the ball around a contest and stoppage, and at the ease at which they're going forward and the speed is the most concerning thing. And as we know, when the ball consistently comes from stoppage, particularly at the front of stoppage with so much speed, again, I don't really care who you are and what defensive you are. You can be Darcy Moore or Stephen May, you're going to have trouble stopping any forward, let alone one of the best forwards and the leading Coleman medalist in the competition at the minute. So that's the most concerning thing, and that's a lot of that's got to do with structure and your ability and your system, your ability to play your role and get the job done around a contest and stop midfielders in particular. And it's on the inside midfielders actually. Then when Carlton do win the ball, actually spread hard with your direct opponent or the closest opponent to you to get goal side and stop them having so much free ball. So it's hard to know where to start. Yeah, there's plenty of positives for Carlton, what's going on, but it's at the ease at which they're doing it is the most concerning thing.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the Carlton appetite to defend. I mean, yes, they've been good with the ball. They've won some free kicks, won some good centre clearances and got the ball in their forward half, but their ability to lock it in, to compete, their intensity around the ball with Dow, Hewitt, obviously Walsh has been a standout offensively, but also defensively with his appetite around the ball to defend. It's a game where I think you could easily get into a transition up and back and hope you outscore the opposition, but their ability just to give West Coast no space and time with the ball has been very impressive.
So we saw what West Coast is still trying to do, so they're trying to play that kick mark, but on the back end of what Zachy just said, that Carlton are really restricting them, they would have known that coming in. It's been a trend for some time. I'm not privy to West Coast early in the year when they were really struggling and what they were doing offensively, but it's been evident the last 5-6 weeks that they're going back to that. So Carlton are coming well planned, well prepared around to stop that and force them to kick it down the line, and when Carlton win the ball back, get speed on the ball.
Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, the news for Jack Silvani hasn't been as good as what they hoped for. He's now been subbed out. Expect to see 33 Lewis Young out there momentarily. He's just on the bench at the moment, but Jack Silvani out of this game.
It's a shame for Jack. Best of field last week in the win over Port Adelaide. Got the full 10 from the coaches. This game lasts just a quarter here with a lower leg complaint. Free kick in the middle, ruck infringement. It's going against De Koning. So they'll get a centre break here, the Eagles. Bailey Williams dishes off the hand pass to Hoff. A job on Charlie Curnow. Can send a long ball inside the forward 50. Darling runs underneath it. Spills out the back to Wiedering for the Blues. Hand pass away to McGovern. Hurried ball out of the defensive 50. Bounces and clean bowls. Allen out on the wing. Right there with him is Charlie Curnow. Shakes the would-be tackle from Allen. Sends the Blues down to half forward. Backing back into traffic. Bazo drops the mark. Right in front of it is Motlop. Hand pass away to Fogarty. Runs into the open goal. Misses. Behind for Lockie Fogarty.
I'm sure. Go, sorry, Cobbs.
58 points, Carlton's lead.
I'm sure you're alluding to the fact that when you called Allen's name, that was playing on Charlie Curnow there. So, yeah, I think they've said we're not going to allow Charlie Curnow to outscore us again. So, Simpsons now put their best forward and one of their best young forwards in the competition now at full back on Charlie Curnow.
Duggan with the kick out. They've turned it over. The Eagles. Saar jams it on the boot. Back inside forward 50. It's a good mark taken by Kelly back at the flight. Inside defensive 50.
He's kicked 41 goals this year, Oscar Allen, in the Coleman Medal mix. Now he's playing on the Coleman Medal leader.
To Gaff and now to Allen in the back half. Kicks backwards to Hearn. Right half back for the Eagles. Sends it back inside defensive 50 to Duggan. He'll kick it back to Hearn at right half back. Just maintaining possession in their back half, the Eagles. Now chips it forward to Allen to get down low to take the grab, and he does. Carlton by 58, early stages, second term. West Coast yet to kick a major. Long kick down the line in the Darling direction. Free kick was held. Advantage is paid. Gaff sends the Eagles inside forward 50. Can they get a mark? They can. It's Noah Long was paid the mark. And he will line up for a shot on goal. 30 metres out, slight angle to the right.
I think that's West Coast blueprint there. You see maintaining possession in the back half. Shannon Hearn, Oscar Allen now is full back. Liam Duggan getting a number of sideways, backwards kicks and then forced a kick to a contest, which they got a free kick from, luckily. But they did have isolation in Jack Darling, should I say, and able to move it forward. So one of their best patches of play to date.
Debut season for Noah Long, and he gets the Eagles on the board. The first goal coming at the 3-minute mark of the second quarter. Carlton 9-6-60, leading West Coast 1-8, 3 minutes played, second term on Grandstand AFL.
He's had a pretty nice year, Zach, Noah Long. So he's played 14 games, tough gig, late pick, rolls into a team that's getting badly beaten. But how challenging is that? I mean, you were early on in your career when the Essendon 34 missed and you had sort of a team that struggled to win too many games. What are the unique challenges of being a young player in a developing team?
I think everything's just the first, so you're just embracing your opportunity that arrives. I don't think you're thinking about the other stuff too much. You're just trying to make the most of your opportunity and learn as much as quickly as you can. But he's had some really nice games so far in a pretty trying season for him.
Pick 58, the Eagles' 5th selection in last year's national draft, Noah Long. Restart back in the middle. The Eagles with the first goal of the second term as Dow tumbles a kick from the clearance out wide to half forward and rolls out of play. And unfortunately for the Eagles, there's been all sorts of records set this year. They're obviously on a club record losing skid at the moment of 15 straight games. It's the highest score that's been kicked against West Coast in a first quarter since round 17, 1999 against Brisbane at the Gabba.
Ball thrown back into play. De Koning taps it forward. Coming out to meet it is Honey. Had a fumble picked up by Witherden. Now to Shuey and off to Bazo. Needs to get rid of it. It was run down by Fogarty. And it's caused a turnover. Carlton inside 50. Honey. Back to Ed Curnow. Chips it to the top of the square. Motlop's on the end of it. Line up directly in front. 20 out.
That was a good kick from Ed Curnow. I did think initially he was going to have a shot on goal. She probably had every right to do that, but it's opened up his vision, looked slightly off the line. An advantage kick to Motlop, which almost a certain goal from 20 metres out straight in front.
You put the mods on him now. Should make no mistake. Jesse Motlop for goal number 2. Straight over the goal umpire's hat. Carlton answer back early in this second quarter. 10-6-66 to West Coast 1-2. 5 minutes played in this second quarter.
Jesse Motlop now, it's at 2 for the day, 16 for the season. He was a late inclusion last week and came in with a career-high 4 goals against Port Adelaide. 5 minutes travelled here in the second term. Meanwhile, it's half-time at the MCG Beach, a 21-point lead for the Hawks. So they did fall behind early in that second term and now back on top. Hawthorn against Richmond, who are playing for a spot in the finals. Half-time at the G. Big day of footy still to come. Brisbane, Geelong in the twilight, and then tonight, of course, 1v2, Collingwood and Port Adelaide. And Fremantle up against Sydney Swans. So on ABC Perth and throughout ABC Radio and WA, you'll be getting the Dockers and the Swans tonight. Crooked bounce back in the middle. Umpire chucks it up. DeConing wins the hit out. There's a whistle from the non-controlling umpire. Spots a hold. It's going Carlton's way. And George Hewitt's going to take it. Alongside the centre circles, another deep entry. Charlie Curnow down there with Oscar Allen. Allen puts his fist through it. Wins a spoil, the leading goal kicker for the Eagles, playing on Carlton's full forward. Hurried kick out of there from Hunt. Stepping over the boundary line is Gaff. Similar scenario to Sard earlier in the game. Gaff did a better job at disguising that. The ump says, chuck it in, a boundary throw in. After Sard penalised for insufficient intent earlier, boundary throw in half forward for Carlton.
Carlton by 58. Hewitt, tackled by Doherty, dispossessed. Doherty picks it up, runs into Sheed, shrugs the tackle, jams it on the boot, into the pocket. Allen against Curnow. It's brought to ground. Young is there for the Blues. Over him is Hearn. Locks the ball up in the right forward pocket. Carlton by 58.
What do you think of the Allen move to fullback?
That's interesting. He mightn't want to do too well. I wonder if he wants to pull a Brendan Favola and let him kick like 6 on him that Fraser Garrick did to him, and made sure that Dennis Pagan never put him at fullback ever again.
From the stoppage, Hewitt hand pass away to Akers. He kicks goalward, puts it out on the full. Did a few Madnick changes last week. Zach, I think, down in Geelong in that last quarter. Oh, it's a short kick here from Hearn. Doesn't quite get to Gaff. Pulled out by Akers. Hand pass goes away to Cunningham. Handball away to Young. Outside right boot hits the post. Behind Carlton by 59.
Yeah, I think it was Scotty trying to experiment a little bit. Obviously, new season, new coach, first year, keen to maximise as much as we could, given the game was away from us at 3/4 time. So I'm not sure the boys that went back to playing Tomahawk were thrilled, but a bit of a learning curve.
You ever walked into the huddle and seen your name in the spot and you thought, what am I doing there?
Yeah, I did. I ended up one Anzac Day, couldn't get my hands on the footy inside, and ended up in the forward pocket, which was a surprise to me, but tried to kick a few goals and had a bit of fun.
Better than the back pocket, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was that famous one where Ross put Stephen Milne at half-time at Sydney in 2006, I think it was. We were getting belted at half-time, and famously said, if you don't want to run and chase and pressure as a forward, you can go play on the opposition's best little forward. So he found himself in the back pocket.
Thrown on the wing. Williams takes it out of the ruck. Tackled by De Koning, and we'll have a stoppage. Carlton by 59. 8 travelled second term. Goal apiece in this second quarter. Carlton win it through Cunningham off to Hollins. Skies it towards half forward. Whistle on play. Free kick Carlton. I think maybe for a hold against Cottrell. From centre half forward. Hand pass releases Walsh from 50 out. Big goal to Sam Walsh. He's putting together a nice afternoon. Carlton 11-7-73 to West Coast 1-8. Margin now out to 65. 9 minutes played. Second term, Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL.
Again, it's just the ease at which things are happening. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but from what I saw was obviously a free kick, and then you have to know, and one thing you have to look out for is the midfielders and half-backs running around looking for that little handball. And there's no one really accountable, and he's come from the initial kind of contest on that far wing. So a lack of spread and work rate from the midfielders, accountability, however you want to paint it, but they've got to work harder to find their direct opponent, work harder to get to the next contest, and when there's a free kick, actually prevent them getting a handball and running in unattended for the top of 50.
We spoke to him post-game a few weeks ago, Beach, and he told us he had a celebration ready to go, the Braden Firmino celebration, Sam Walsh. Took a little while to pull it out. The camera had already cut away, so unfortunately it didn't make as many of the edits I'm sure that he would have hoped, but loves his goal celebrations, Sammy Walsh. Unfortunately hasn't kicked too many of them this year, just his 4th goal. Kicks Carlton's 11th here, 11 goals to 1. It's the Blues by 65. We've got a crooked bounce and now a ruck infringement against De Koning, so centre break for the Eagles. And Bailey Williams can just bang it long inside 50. Wiedering spoils away into the lap of Cottrell. The Blues up the back flank. Hand pass away to Hollands. Goes away to Fogarty. Pokes the pass against the boundary line. Leaping up and marking. And it's Sam Walsh again. He's had 12 touches at 100% efficiency. He's got it at half-back here for Carlton. That includes 8 score involvements for Walsh.
Backwards to Wiedering and then across the face of goal to Kemp. Has a bounce. Can have a second bounce as he runs it towards halfway. Kemp, a long kick down the line. Curnow in the one-on-one, that's Ed, but he was outpointed by Duggan of the Eagles. Kicks laterally to centre half back and finds Cole.
It was good positioning by young Hoff there, who just took an aggressive position on his opponent, Ed Curnow, and then allowed for a bit more delay on the ball and time for Duggan to get over and support him. 3rd man in the air and take that uncontested mark.
Cole to Witherden, out to Darling, who kicks down the line to Sheed. Drop the mark, has time to regather, wheel around and poke the pass down the line to Cripps. Marks in front of Sard and takes off. Close to the boundary line, kicks into the pocket, looking for Marek. The spoil coming from Kemp. He was out of bounds on the full anyway, so free kick to Carlton in the left back pocket.
Kemp goes short. Way to Newman. Newman switching play towards the opposite back flank. Took an unkind bounce. Petrevsky-Seaton onto it. Half forward for West Coast. Hands it away to Elijah Hewitt. Shoots goalward. Had more time than he thought. Hooking across the body. And to behind. 11-7 to 1-3. Carlton by 64 points. 12 gone second term. What a shaved heads in the Carlton team. There was a sign by a couple of fans that they brought saying no more shaved heads. A few of the
they don't like it.
A few of the young women had a sign here, and Carlton fans are not too happy with it. But I see Chincotta and Wiedering. There's a heap of them out there for Carlton with the close shave.
Sard with the kick in short to Doherty, who kicks back to Sard, drop the mark, regathers, jams it on the boot to the outer side to a one-on-one. The fist came from Hollands. At ground level is Witherden for the Eagles. Hand passes over his head, but it's a turnover. Hewitt to Kemp, slipped over from left half back. Hand passes to Cunningham. His hand pass picked off by Witherden. He's turned it over. Chincotta to Doherty. And half back for the Blues to Hollands. Hand pass in front of Walsh. His hand pass to Cottrell. They're under pressure, but they might get out of it. Hand pass to Young, the sub. He just hand passes in hope. All Eagles. Right, having a fumble is Duggan. It ricochets to Fogarty and now releases Motlop inside the centre square. Gives it to Cunningham. Kick towards full forward, and guess who? Curnow marks in the left forward pocket. He'll kick around the corner from about 25 out. Kicked 4 goals in the opening quarter. Charlie Curnow snaps his 5th. The margin's now out to 70. Carlton 12-7-79 to West Coast 1-3-9. 14 played second term on Grandstand AFL. Charlie's got a handful.
It came off a ground ball mistake, a turnover, I guess you could call it, from Duggan here, that West Coast actually did a good job at applying enough pressure and causing the overlap handball and rush handball forward. And then he actually had time and space when he did pick it up to make a good decision and go back out Carlton, back the other way, centre wing here. And then once the turnover came, West Coast players were making decisions based on the fact they expected Duggan to pick that up and potentially find them in general playing offence. And then most players are out of play. Tom Cole found himself trying to defend Charlie Curnow deep inside 50, which is always a sign of a player of his ability or size, is that a quick turnover has appeared somewhere down the ground and the defence is unravelled.
Blues by 70. Shuey had it, gave it to Kelly. He coughs it up. Kick from George Hewitt inside 50. He was dealt with after getting rid of it. Some frustration from Shuey as he ran straight through George Hewitt after kicking inside the forward arc. And Charlie Curnow is going to be given the footy, centre half forward for the Blues. A chance to try and kick his 6th.
That's down the field free kick.
Yep.
I'll try and get those stats up. There'd be scores from free kicks would be through the roof at the minute, it feels.
The Eagles doing themselves no favours. Goalless in the opening term. Carlton kicked the first 9. They've now got the last 3. Here's Charlie Curnow. He strikes it pure. He's got half a dozen. We're only a quarter and a half in. 13-7-85. West Coast 1-3-9. It's a bag already. And he's headed for a monstrous afternoon. 15 gone, second term, Carlton by 76.
Trying to find those free kicks, goals. 3 goals won? Feels like a lot more than that. That's the third one I can remember. 2 of them, one from free 50-metre penalty in the centre of the ground. Newman kicked it. Another free kick from the middle of the ground as a direct result. I think Charlie Curnow shot on goal from Sam Walsh, and then another free. So that's the 3 maybe, but it feels like a lot more than that. So compounding the issue, and you're getting belted in every other aspect, and then just to give away free kicks, 50-metre penalties that directly result in a goal. It's a frustrating thing for any opposition, any fan out there.
Free kick to West Coast out of the middle. Gaff. Hand passes to Shuey. Kicks a long ball inside forward 50. Darling got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Good defence from Kemp. There's Cowan laying a tackle. Bottom of the pack for the Eagles looks like it's Duggan. Stoppage inside forward 50 for the Eagles. Jack Williams in the ruck. Palms it down. Kelly overran it. Picked up by Cripps. He's tackled by a couple of Blues. Going nowhere, and we'll have another stoppage. Carlton by 76.
I found that sign, by the way, which is 3 women with a sign that says "Stop the buzz cuts" as Carlton fans. So bringing their own little sign along with the footy, trying to send a message to the playing group. We've got another ball up here, centre half forward for the Eagles. There's also another cheeky sign I can see in this picture which says "TDK, can I have your boots?" I feel like that's crept into footy everywhere. There's "Can I have your boots" signs. It's not even a please. As when the restart comes down towards Newman, hand pass to George Hewitt. Handball away to Wiedering, gives it off to Hollins, kicks along the boundary line. It's a good one, finds Cottrell. Carlton again on the counter-attack. Short kick away to Cunningham. It's into their front half. The Eagles haven't been able to stop too much of this today. Gaff intercepts here. Off the back flank, sends his kick back down the wing, and Petrevski-Seton takes the mark for the Eagles.
Chips it to Cripps. 2 kicks from goal. Wheels around and pokes the pass to Marek. He's marked against the boundary line at right half forward. We'll just bomb it along to the top of the square. Darling has a good run at it. It's brought to ground. Hewitt rose to the Eagles, trying to find some space. Gives it to Cripps. He gets out of trouble. Jams it on the boot to Hoff from 50 metres out. A wild shot towards goal. Has missed everything. Out of bounds on the full.
Zach Merritt with us on Grandstand AFL. Have you ever given your boot, Zach, to somebody that's brought a sign to the footy?
I haven't yet, no. Hold on to all my boots.
They're like 10 and 12. What are they going to do with them? Besides sell them on eBay or something.
Like you get towards halfback from Wiedering, falls through to Witherden, who can bang it back inside 50 for the Eagles, and at the drop, Akers takes the mark back pocket. It's crept in though, hasn't it? So every game of footy you come to, you see it.
Yeah, and they're training. I'm not obviously a player, but when we walk off the track, Zachy probably gets as well. They're training and open training sessions. The young kids asking, again, they don't even ring a sign, they just ask the boys most of the time, can I have your boots, and don't say please.
Akers bangs it back to halfback Witherden, sends it inside 50, and Petrocelli takes the mark. 30 out half forward, so a mark inside 50 for the Eagles. And Cohen on the boundary.
Some more concern for the Blues. Sam Walsh has just gone down into the rooms. He was clutching the left hamstring just lightly, but he's just gone down in the rooms.
Well, that's one thing that could really sour the day for the Blues, already without Chera, Mackay and Cripps. Jack Martin all missing. The team that beat Port Adelaide are now concerned for Silvani and for Walsh as Petrocelli pops it through for West Coast. They've got 2. They're at 11 behind in the game. 13-7-85. West Coast 2-3-15. Carlton's lead cut to 70 points. 19 gone second term.
Only 4 more to get Charlie Curnow.
Yes.
In positive news, it's 4 goals to 2 in this quarter.
That's right.
So they've stemmed the bleeding, you'd say.
I think it can be difficult as well with West Coast owning the footy. kicking sideways a little bit, trying to hold the footy in through switch. The forwards and mids typically are running 80, 100 metre sprints across the ground. When you do turn the footy over, it can be pretty difficult to then find the energy and that dynamicness that those Carlton mids have had when they've turned it over to run forward and really challenge the West Coast defenders.
From the restart, De Koning wins the tap, down to Dow. Can send the Blues into attack again, and Motlop in the one-on-one. Through his hands, Allen out the back for the Eagles. And working out through Hoff, and now Cole. Kick around the corner towards half-back. Marek attacked it nicely to Chesser. Loops the hand pass over the top to Duggan. Nice hand pass to Kelly. They've worked it to the wing. Looping hand pass over the top to Gaff. They continue to move it by hand to Jack Williams. They're out half forward now, the Eagles. Williams, long kick inside 50s on a great one. Kemp underneath it for the Blues. Takes the intercepting grab.
Kemp goes short, away to Akers, half-back for Carlton. Dishes off the hand pass. Away to the run out there of Kemp. He gives it to Sant, gets it back again. Kemp against the boundary line, city side, heads down the front of attacking half of the wing, trying to find Young, overruns it, and the Eagles win it back. Hearn receives a hand pass from Cole. Dishes it off to Duggan. He's tackled and a ball up between wing and half forward for Carlton. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, the paperwork flying thick and fast. Xavier O'Neill will be in the contest. Luke Shuey in the back row. Looks like a hamstring.
Oh no.
Another soft tissue injury for Luke Shuey. Unfortunately, which has really been the perpetual loop he's been in for a number of seasons now. Their Norm Smith medalist. Soft tissue injury for the West Coast captain on what is already a pretty sour afternoon. Carlton by 70 points.
Ball in dispute on the outer wing. Sheed at the bottom of the pack. And passes to Jack Williams. And now that Kelly pokes the pass forward and finds Jack Darling 2 kicks from goal. Will wind up and just send a long ball into the pocket. McGovern, brilliant intercepting grab against Hewitt. He chips it short to Cottrell at the top of the defensive goal square. Blares his kick out wide to Ed Curnow. Still inside defensive 50, the Blues. They lead by 70. Kick down the line, back to Cottrell, who kept running. So Silvani subbed out of the game for the Blues with what appeared to be a leg injury. Sam Walsh also potential injury. That kick is intercepted by Hearn, and he chips it inboard to Kelly.
So Kelly, the footy for West Coast, his midfield soundly beaten in that opening quarter where the Blues put 9 goals past them. The 1-2 with Sheed, and then Kelly turns it over. Dow takes the intercept mark, misses Hollins with the handball. O'Neill takes care of him. Eagles win the footy. Witherden, hand pass back to Kelly. Sweeping hand pass, having to wait for it. Gaff got it over his shoulder, and in the end, Doherty tackles O'Neill. Blues win it back. Hollins by hand, away to Newman. Hand pass to George Hewitt. Pokes the pass to Young. Mark still on the wing. Hand pass away to Cottrell. Polly Farmer hand pass sweeping forward to Cunningham. Lifts it over the top of Allen. Motlop trying to feed the man in the goal square. It's Ed Curnow. He traps it and pops it through. And everyone's getting in on the party. 8th individual goal kicker for Carlton. His little brother's kicked 6 already, and now Ed's got 1 himself. 13-7-85, Carlton. West Coast 2-3-15, Blues by 70, 23 gone, second term. Ian Cohen.
Alex Chincotta has now come to the bench. The doctors are assessing him. He was tackled very heavily. It's probably going to be scrutinised, you would suggest, post-match, but he's at the moment, the docs asking him all sorts of questions, but Alex Chincotta at the moment on the bench.
Okay, no sign of Walsh.
No sign of Walsh coming up, and it looks like Silvani is a knee issue.
It is a concern in these games where you, as much as anything now for the Blues, Page, I imagine you're just hoping everyone gets through it.
Yeah, well, you can help yourself and control, as we see Fogarty here, another free kick.
Free kick advantage paid, long bomb to the top of the square, they all fly. Cole and Curnow close to the line, that's Ed. Ball out of play for a throw in 10 metres around from Carlton's goal. Is it Lewis Young looking a little sore? Gets to his feet now. Carlton by 76.
So try and minimise the damage or any other risk of injury. You can just slow down the play with a lead of 12 goals already, nearly 13. They can just slow the play and almost go into the kick-catch game that West Coast prefer to play.
Bailey Williams wins the hit out, and George Stewart over the footy, tackled by O'Neill, got a hand pass out to Honey, hooks a kick top of the goal square. Allen and Charlie Curnow there. Allen hanging on, tucks the jumper of Charlie Curnow. He's going to get the footy hit just outside the goal square. He's about 8 metres out on a slight angle. And Charlie Curnow will step around, hook it through. He's got 7 in less than 2 quarters of footy. And now a bit of push and shove to follow. But the Coleman medal leader is now +8 on his nearest rival. And Charlie Curnow with another big day out against the West Coast Eagles. 9 last time. He's got 7 in the front half here. Carlton 15-7, 97. West Coast 2-3-15. Lose by 82. Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, I was feeling easy. That little scuffle was instigated by Charlie Curnow, just giving young Hoff a push after he kicked the goal, which almost just rubbing his face in it. But it wasn't him that actually gave away the free kick. It was Cole, actually. My bad. But yeah, they're up and about at the minute. Just they stemmed the bleeding there for a while, and then they just they kicked 3 in the last kind of 5 minutes.
Carlton by 57 at quarter time. West Coast kicked the first goal of the second quarter, but Carlton had kicked 6 of the last 7. My math is correct. It's definitely not my strong suit. Carlton move it inside forward 50, but they've turned it over. Hearn just bangs it back the other way. Darling in the 1-on-1 against Kemp. He falls to the ground and takes the intercepting mark. He just takes his boot off. We'll go and collect that later as he takes off and kicks to half forward to a big pack. Cunningham roved it nicely, releases Dow by hand from 50 out, kick to the top of the goal square. Picked up by Williams, or Allen in fact, of West Coast as they share it by hand on the last line of defence. Now Allen kicks it short to Long, back to Allen who kept running, loops the hand pass over the top to Hewitt, he's caught and coughed it up. Fogarty, hand passes to Hollands, at left half forward, chips it short and finds Doherty 51 metres out from goal. Chips it back to Hollands, who kept running inside forward 50. He's 48 from goal. Quickly down to Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Better news for the Blues. Cincotta back on. Must have passed that assessment.
Great news there, Ian, as Hollands kicks towards goal. It's away to the left for a minor score. Carlton by 83, 15-8, 98 to West Coast 2-3, 15, 27 played now in this second term.
How conscious are you, Zach, here of a key forward like Charlie Curnow is on a heater? He's kicked 7. Are you trying to feed him when you look inside 50?
Yeah, I used to love trying to find Big Hooksy or Peter Wright. It's thing in footy. I think the fans absolutely love when the big key forwards team's out, and you got to look after them, mate. That's what they're paid to do, and they normally return with a midweek coffee or something in return.
Jeez, Rui wasn't that generous back today.
Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL as Hearn goes long out to half back, and we've got another stoppage as Kelly's locked up by Akers. So, of course, Tex Walker kicks 10 against the Eagles. Charlie Curnow 9. He's got 7 here, and we're not even at half-time as Bailey Williams tackled hard by DeConey. Didn't have the footy, said the umpire, so free kick for B. Williams at left half-back for West Coast. 28 gone second term. And short to Sheed. 15-8 to 2-3. It's an 83-point lead for Carlton. Concerns for Walsh with a hamstring problem after being really best of field in that opening term. Long kick from Sheed down the wing, and Ryan Marrick, the young teenager, runs to the front. #1 pick in the mid-season draft, takes a nice mark in front of the pack on the wing. And the other one, Silvani, subbed out of the game with a knee issue. And a few problems for the Blues, despite their success. Short kick, Hoff, back to Duggan, and just creeping on the mark is Josh Honey. They've been hot on this today, the umpires, so fourth 50-metre penalty of the afternoon, but the first one the Eagles have received. And Liam Duggan, it was a long kick of the footy, will be within range with the man on the mark to stand about 40 metres out, left half forward for the Eagles.
It's always questionable, those ones where it didn't really affect any bit on the play. He's just reacting to the guy. It was Duggan at the time, just going to switch the ball, and he's taken literally half a step offline, just trying to read his cues and react to the kick and move with it.
Oh. And that's the left-footed brigade down here with a behind out to the right. 15-8 to 2-4. 82-point lead for Carlton. 30 gone, second term.
Saad takes off from the kick in, has a bounce, gives it to Newman, hand pass to Hollins, leaping hand pass to Wiedering. At half back, kicks backwards inside defensive 50 to Doherty, who can switch. Kicks to Kemp at the top of the defensive goal square. Now off to Cowan. Going down the line. Good kick, or Honey dropped the mark. That's a fight for it at ground level. Williams comes in for the Eagles. He overran it. Honey goes again. Good tackle from Darling. Locks the ball up on the wing. Cowan at the bottom of the pack. Carlton by 82 as we tick over the half-hour mark in the second term.
82-point lead for the Blues. Half hour gone. Hurried kick forward here from Fogarty. Punched out of play. Petrevsky Seaton umpire says spin it in. And a boundary throw in. Just over a minute left in the first half. Meanwhile at the MCG, it's Hawthorn by 27 points over Richmond. Had another shot at goal here through Mitch Lewis. So problems for Andrew McQualter and the Tigers to try and remain in that hunt for the top 8. From the boundary throw in, the Eagles win it at the coalface. As Gaff through the hands of Sheed, hand pass to Bailey Williams, tumbles a kick to half forward, and Marrick's pushed out of play by Saad. So we'll have a boundary throw in half forward for West Coast. Another big quarter for Carlton. They kicked 9 unanswered goals in the first term. They've kicked 6 goals to 2 here in the second. And Charlie Curnow has 7 goals in less than a half a footy.
From the stoppage, Sheed Rose gives it to O'Neill, the sub. High kick inside forward 50. No mark. And Noah Long is there. He's tackled by a couple of Blues. Holding the ball. This is the call. Free kick to Carlton. Sam Doherty to take the free kick. Carlton by 82, close to half-time. Not the required distance to Kemp, who has to hand pass over the top to Akers. Down the broadcast wing, kick out of bounds on the full. Free kick to West Coast in front of the interchange gates.
It's almost like a bit of a cricket crowd, isn't it? With just a bit of a hum around. One side sort of in such control as Carlton are 82-point leaders. Plenty of Blues fans have showed up. Kids go free today, so sell out. And the Blues obviously winning on the back of 4 in a row and up by a wide margin as we close in on half-time. The Eagles down to half-forward. Ball comes out to Kemp. He blazes away trying to clear the defensive arc, puts it out on the full.
Might be the lowest sellout crowd I think we might see this year. In recent times.
A few vacant blocks as Hoff kicks to the top of the goal square. Clean bowls a couple. Chesser laces a hand pass through traffic, but Chincotta mops it up for Carlton last line. Hand pass away to Cottrell. And that'll do us. As good as it was for Carlton, it was equally as bad for the West Coast Eagles. The only problems for the Blues was on the injury front. Silvani subbed out, Walsh hamstring concerns, while for the West Coast Eagles, they trail the game 15 goals to 2. It's Carlton by 82 points at half-time. 15-8-98, West Coast 2-4-16. And Luke Shuey, the captain of the West Coast Eagles, quite emotional on the bench. Has been subbed out with another soft tissue injury. So it's just the stage of his career he finds himself in with these repeat injuries. And again, he's able to play a little stretch of footy. He's played 8 games this year, but his hamstring's gone on him once more. So unfortunately subbed out of the game in the second quarter. Luke Shuey for the West Coast Eagles. The goal kickers. Charlie Curnow has kicked 7. 2 for Motlop, 1 for Silvani, Walsh, Newman, Ed Curnow, Honey and Chincotta. While for West Coast, they've just kicked the 2 goals. So Petruccelli's got 1 and Noah Long has the other. It's half-time at Docklands. It's Carlton by 82 points. At the MCG, it's Hawthorn by 33 over Richmond. So 5 minutes into the third quarter, Hawthorn by 33. The thoughts of our grandstand AFL experts. Essendon captain Zach Merritt alongside Brendan Goddard.
What to make of it?
If you just flicked on the radio
bad, isn't it?
And you've missed the first half, what are we saying?
You missed the first half. It was much like... Well, there's actually a response from the Eagles, I think, just in terms of the contest work and particularly the stoppage work, but they're continually letting themselves down by giving away free kicks and the defensive side of the game. So Carlton, as Zachy alluded to in the end of the first quarter, are doing a pretty good job to minimise their kick mark game. they're squeezing up on those backwards and sideways kicks, which generally most teams would give opposition those kicks because they're not really gaining any ground and kind of shifting, their teammates or forcing them to run when they don't really need to. So Carlton are stopping the backwards and sideways kicks, which one makes you feel good about yourself when you're touching the footy, but it gets everyone involved, and then they're just forcing West Coast to kick it long down the line on most occasions, and then from there Carlton are winning the ball back and then just going at ease back towards West Coast and going forward at ease with guys out the back. Charlie Curnow's getting so much isolation because the ball, Carlton are doing a really good job too of getting speed on the ball, creating that overlap run, getting it back through the corridor, which isn't allowing West Coast defenders, I'm sure it's part of the plan. Knowing that Harry Mackay's not there, that Charlie Curnow is going to be the number one target inside 50 for Carlton, that to get back and support whoever's playing on him. That quarter we saw Simpson switch the magnets a little bit, and Oscar Allen started on Charlie Curnow, and even when Charlie Curnow wasn't on the ground, he stayed back there and had a little bit of impact, intercept mark a number of times, and then creating a bit of bounce we saw on the far side of the wing. Bit of overlap run, he ended up turning it over, or West Coast ended up turning over in the end, but it was Oscar Allen that kind of started their offence and got the ball in motion and a bit of speed on the ball. So Carlton will be pretty happy with the way things are going. I think just going in planning would be happy with the way the game's panned out. It's obvious the scoreboard, who's in control, but I think just more about how Carlton's doing it with their stoppage work and then being able to minimise West Coast uncontested marks and kick game, taking the ball back off them as quick as possible and scoring off turnover.
What have you thought, Zach?
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with Carlton. The first 13 or 14 rounds probably wasn't what we all expected that they were going to do off the back of last year, and then the last 5 weeks they've been super impressive with the way they've been playing. But to see them live, the way they're doing it, the way that they're connected, we knew that they're a very good clearance contested ball team. Got some very good plays inside, but to miss Chera and Paddy Cripps today inside, to see their dynamic. Sam Walsh started, he set the tone I think for them both ways. The way they've tackled, they've out-hunted them, they've plus 10 tackles whilst also winning clearance and contested footy, so they're doing it both ways. But for me, I think guys like Cunningham, Motlop, Honey, Ed Curnow being forward, those guys are working up and down the ground at real speed to get back to defend, but then once they turn the footy over, they're really pushing back forward inside 50, giving space to Charlie. But guys like Sard, Newman, they're guys that are really good users of the footy. Doherty make good decisions, but are going at pace and attacking forward. I think it's been pretty impressive to see the way that they've connected their offence with their defence and contest, and there's no surprise why the scoreboard looks the way it does, and I'm sure Voss will be very happy, as BJ mentioned, the way the game's looked. It looks like a Carlton game of footy, and a game that you would think would stand up in September, the way they're playing, really strong in the contest and doing their work inside, but then also exploding offensively. And Charlie's been pretty impressive to watch live, the way he uses his body, but geez, he just always looks dangerous and draws free kicks because of the way he plays and the way he puts his position and his body in between the ball and his opponent.
It's a lopsided margin at halftime, 82 points Carlton's way. We talk all the time, Beach, about the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year, our premier player, the Brownlow, for example, as to whether you give the votes when the game's actually decided. So the game here is decided early. What is the least amount of playing time you can actually play, do you think, to get in the votes? Like, Sam Walsh was one of, probably only behind Charlie, maybe the best player on the ground in that opening quarter. Has he played enough
What's the least amount of time?
At a quarter and a half? Is that enough to get Brownlow votes?
When the game was over at quarter time, in this instance, you can probably say that's enough time, right?
Yep.
The game was up for grabs in the first quarter.
So you think he can get votes even despite the fact his day might be done?
So what do you say? We're not going to give the votes to Zaki today, so being the first timer. So I may as well just write Charlie Curnow 3, Sam Walsh 2 at the minute.
Well, yeah. I mean, whatever happens from here, surely it's just your inflated numbers, aren't you? I mean, the game's done. It's 82 points.
Filling your boots from here on in. Filling your boots after the first quarter, really.
And that is a real shame for Carlton. Walsh, 14 disposals, went 100% disposal efficiency. Out of his 14 touches, 9 of them were score involvement. So for people that don't understand his score involvement chat, basically it's a chain that leads to a score. So win the footy.
Any part of that chain.
Yep. And as long as you win the ball and then the results.
It can be a bit misleading. It can be a dicky little handball to a bloke that's ran off half back and created speed and took on 3 blokes, and then he gets a little 1-2 and you're in the score involvement chain.
It's a good stat, though. I like score involvements. At least it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea on
and with
sort of how
Charlie Curnow's kicked 7 goals. He has 10 score involvements.
Yes.
And 8 of them himself.
3 others.
Yeah, absolutely. 82 points, Carlton's lead at halftime. We'll talk to Zach Merritt a little about his Bombers. Unfortunately, not the night that Essendon fans and the Essendon team were hoping for last night against the Western Bulldogs. We'll do that after the latest from the ABC newsroom. It's halftime here at Docklands. It is an 82-point lead for Carlton. Charlie Curnow, he's kicked 7. So our interest very much lies in how many he's going to end up with and how bad it's going to get for the West Coast Eagles. It's lopsided again, unfortunately, for the competition's cellar dwellers. On ABC Radio, Sport Digital and through the Listen app, it's halftime at Docklands, second half around the corner. But first, the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The Prime Minister is calling for opponents of the Housing Australia Future Fund to get out of the way. A vote on the $10 billion fund was blocked last month by the Greens and the Coalition in the Senate. The government says the fund will build 30,000 affordable homes, but the Greens argue it's not enough and want the Commonwealth to address the rental crisis, while the Coalition says the fund is inflationary. Speaking at the ACT Labor Conference, Anthony Albanese is calling on politicians to pass the bill when Parliament resumes.
If the Liberal, Green, One Nation, National Party coalition would just get out of the way and allow us to create the Housing Australia Future Fund, and they should do so in the next fortnight.
Greece is bracing for a return of intense heat this weekend, with warnings temperatures could climb as high as 45 degrees. The latest heat wave comes as the summer season's busiest time for the tourist trade in Greece. Other parts of Europe are also dealing with high temperatures, and parts of the US are sweltering. The former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta is accusing his successor William Ruto of intimidating his children and his elderly mother. The BBC's Julian Bedford has more.
The Kenyan capital Nairobi was scarred by another day of demonstrations and clashes on Friday, and many in the government have accused Uhuru Kenyatta of funding the protest movement. He'd refused last year to back his former vice president, William Ruto, in his successful bid for the top job. Now Mr. Kenyatta has hit back, accusing the government of seeking to intimidate him by raiding his son's house and withdrawing the security detail from his elderly mother.
Some of the world's biggest tech companies have agreed to implement safeguards on artificial intelligence following a meeting with the US President Joe Biden. The companies, including Google, Meta, Microsoft and OpenAI, have agreed to a range of measures, including the development of watermarking technology to help people easily identify AI-generated content. Mr. Biden says without the right safeguards in place, the rapidly evolving technology could cause great harm.
We must be clear-eyed and vigilant about the threats of emerging technologies that can pose, don't have to, but can pose to our democracy and our values.
Australian singer David Campbell says Tony Bennett's music legacy will live on. Bennett's death at the age of 96 brings to a close a career that spanned 8 decades, sold millions of records and earned him 20 Grammy Awards. His best-known songs were I Left My Heart in San Francisco and Because of You. Campbell says that Bennett sang plainly, honestly, and from the heart.
I think Tony really encompasses the crossover from jazz to the great American's popular songbook of the time. And he carried that forth and was so pure and so true to it for so many years that he kept going in and out of fashion, but maintained his honesty and his dignity and integrity to that music and to those songs.
New South Wales residents are being urged to watch out for symptoms of measles after a Sydney family returned from overseas with the disease. Dr. Anitha Katalaris from Southeastern Public Health Unit says exposure sites include parts of Sydney Airport last week and Prince of Wales Public Hospital on Wednesday. She says those born after 1996 who haven't been immunised are entitled to a free vaccine.
Children should receive the measles vaccine at 12 and 18 months old as part of their routine childhood immunisations. Some adults might not have had these 2 doses of vaccine, and it's free in New South Wales for anyone born since or in 1966.
Rescue crews are continuing their search for a man missing in Sydney Harbour. 50-year-old Andrew Findlay was on a fishing boat with his friends and art dealer Tim Kilgender when it's believed they ran into trouble near rocks. Kilgender's body was recovered on Thursday. John Murray from Marine Rescue New South Wales says 8 volunteers are searching for any signs of Findlay today.
Always focus on looking for any survivors. And which is the man involved in the incident, but also anything else that may be able to help police in the investigation into the incident.
A man's died after being stabbed in Sydney's inner west overnight. Police found the man in his 60s inside a unit block on Forbes Street. A 43-year-old man has been arrested. And the US has beaten Vietnam 3-0 in their opening match of the FIFA Women's World Cup in Auckland. Sophia Smith opened the scoring in 14 minutes and got a second just before the break, while Lindsay Horan scored in the 77th minute. The Americans also had Alex Morgan penalty saved. Later today, Zambia host Japan in Hamilton. You're up to date with the very latest from ABC News.
Start Bowles to Oates, steps away and smashes it for 4. And England have won.
An England fight back has kept the Ashes series alive.
It's 2-1 with 2 to play.
Can Australia turn it back in their favour and seal the Ashes with a win in the 4th test? Don't miss a minute of the series that has captured the imagination of the cricketing world.
This is Test cricket at its very best.
The Ashes continues tonight. Hear every ball live on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the red cricket button.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
From centre half forward, hand pass releases Walsh from 50 out. Big goal to Sam Walsh. Having a fumble is Duggan. It ricochets to Fogarty and now releases Motlop inside the centre square. Gives it to Cunningham. Kick towards full forward and guess who? Curnow marks in the left forward pocket. 4 goals in the opening quarter. Charlie Curnow snaps his fifth.
Shuey had it, gave it to Kelly. He coughs it up. Kick from George Hewitt inside 50. He was dealt with after getting rid of it. Some frustration from Shuey as he ran straight through George Hewitt. Here's Charlie Curnow. He strikes it pure. He's got half a dozen. He's headed for a monstrous afternoon. Honey hooks a kick top of the goal square. Allen and Charlie Curnow there. Allen hanging on, tucks the jumper of Charlie Curnow. He's going to get the footy here just outside the goal square. He's about 8 metres out on a slight angle. And Charlie Curnow will step around, hook it through. He's got 7.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
So 7 goals in a half of footy for Charlie Curnow. Carlton by 82 points, 15-8-98 over the West Coast Eagles, 2-4-16. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster calling the footy. Ian Cohen on the boundary, our grandstand AFL experts. Essendon captain Zach Merritt and former Essendon captain Brendan Goddard. A couple of 4 All-Australian Blazers between them. 82-point lead for Carlton at half-time. Meanwhile, over at the MCG, it's a 31-point lead for Hawthorn. So 6 minutes to go in the third term. It's a hell of a day of footy. Brisbane up against Geelong in the twilight. We'll take you there next. And then tonight, for many of you who are listening throughout ABC Radio and WA, it'll be Fremantle and Sydney. We also have a call available, of course, at the top of the table clash, 1v2 with his Collingwood and Port Adelaide tonight at Adelaide Oval. A hell of a day of footy. Are you a big footy watcher? Zach, do you watch Brendan Goddard just dropped off his sandwich straight on the ground? Do you watch many games across the weekend?
Absolutely. I'm a big footy fan. Love watching footy. I think it's the best way for me to learn opponents I'm going to come up against, the way teams are playing, the way the game evolves in season. And I just love watching footy as well, and the best players going at it.
What's the morning after the night before look like? What did you get up to first thing today?
I actually woke up and headed out to Craigieburn to do some Auskick clinics, which was great to see. Some of the kids, I think they were aged 5 to 7 and just loved running around and kicking the footy and trying to kick goals, which was, gave me a little bit of perspective after a bit of a flattening night last night. Brad
Scott was sort of in his post-match press conference, spoke a lot about, the group was flat, lost a little bit of their zip, particularly about the younger guys and sort of from the high level that you'd had from, so many of your young sort of midfield brigade throughout the season so far. How have you been able to reflect on it as to sort of what went wrong as a midfield group? You had 11 clearances in the first quarter. You had 15 collectively in the 3 quarters after that.
Yeah, I haven't watched or analysed the data and the vision. I think my gut feel is they're a very highly quality team. Individually, they've got some amazing players. Liberatore was amazing inside last night. Bond, obviously, probably the best and most influential player on the ground last night and in the game at the moment. And then, to have players like Bailey Smith and Adam Treloar float through at the right time. They're a pretty strong, well-drilled team, and I thought it was some great exposure for guys like Ben Hobbs and Jai Caldwell to go up against Libba and Treloar, and Perkins played on Bond for the first half, which again, I'm hopeful they'll reflect on those moments and what worked and what didn't, and learn from those experiences. But we're evolving. We had a lot of moving pieces, I think, last night through that midfield, and obviously didn't get the result going our way, and we'll reflect on that and keep making sure we're connected and clear on what we need to do to improve that result, because it's pretty hard for our defenders to defend the ground when you're down 15 or 20 in clearance and losing some position on the field.
Your coach was also asked about Jake Stringer. He said, look, he puts his hand up to be selected. He's fit to go out there and play. He also sort of just dropped in, though, that he is carrying something at the moment. Can you give us any insight as to how Jake's going?
Yeah, I think every player's got niggles and things going on this time of year when you're 17 or 18 games into a season. You've got things pop up, and Jake's no different to that. He's got a few niggles that he's dealing with midweek, which has sort of made it difficult for him to train consistently. But when you're out there and you put your hand up, you've got to perform. And I thought last night, with our inability to probably challenge the Bulldogs defenders, it made our forwards, especially Jake and Langer's jobs, quite difficult to not get sort of one-on-one contest deep inside 50 and allow them to actually challenge back the other way. So, I think more so for Jake, it's just getting his body right as much as he can and getting back to influencing games.
And the conversation around player movement feels like every single year it's bigger than it was the year before. And you had a big decision to make a couple of years ago. You decided to stay as a Bomber, and now you're the captain of the footy club. And Beej, obviously, you're at a point in your career where you obviously changed clubs and obviously had some success, obviously, at the team in which you went to.
Did we?
But Darcy Parish and Mason Redmond, who I'm sure you get asked about all the time, as the captain of the footy club, are you speaking with them regularly? Do you have a role to play in as to what your peers decide to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think every year it does get more and more talk around these scenarios. For me now, I gave them the first half of the year to sort through their own decision and work through with their family and their friends or their close people that they want to talk to. And as the season's gone on, I've caught up with both of them individually and talked about what they need or what they want to see. And I'm certainly there to help them, but ultimately they're going to, I think, base their decision off the way we're playing. And I think for the most part of the year, we've shown some really good signs about where we're going. And Brad certainly brought in some really strong stability and given us a clear roadmap of what we need to do to get to be the footy club and the team that we want to be, that can compete and play consistent footy for majority of the season. So I'm fingers crossed that those two guys and a few other guys that are out of contract will hopefully sign soon.
You confident they'll stay?
I'm confident, but in this game you can never be overconfident, can you?
Absolutely. Zach Merritt with us in the experts chair this afternoon. It's a real thrill to have him with us on Grandstand AFL alongside Brendan Goddard, of course, former teammates at Essendon, with us this afternoon on Grandstand AFL. The teams are out there in position to start the second half. It's Carlton by 82 points. Kerno has 7. Let's see what we get in the third. Here's Jess Webster.
Bailey Williams with the tap for West Coast. Kelly tracking the footy. Ricochets to Hollins, who's tackled by Chesser on the logo out of side, and we'll have a ball up. Umpire quick to toss it in the air. De Koning with the tap this time down to Dow. Just got boot to ball, scrambles it forward. Witherden got a hand in there. It spills the way of Hunt inside the centre square for the Eagles. Hand pass to Kelly, adjacent to the bullseye. Lovely kick inside 50 to Darling on the lead. 45 out from home. Wants to kick it into the pocket. The fist came from Wiedering against Hoff. It spills away long. His shot towards goals away to the right. For a minor score, West Coast with the first score in this second half. The margin is Carlton by 81, 15-8-98 to 2-5-17.
Here's Mitch McGovern. No Jeremy McGovern for the Eagles today. Goes long into the middle of the ground. It clears the pack, bounces through to Witherden. The logo broadcast side hooks a kick down to half forward, and Newman's at the drop takes the intercept mark for Carlton. He goes all the way back inside the defensive 50 to Kemp. Kemp continues the shift across the half-back line to Wiedering. So still no Sam Walsh for Carlton. Went off midway through that second term with what is feared to be a hamstring injury. Was best to field up until that point. Probably along with Charlie Kerno, who's been kicking a bag. He's up to 7. Hollands goes back to Wiedering, and Wiedering is trying to shift out to the dock side to McGovern. Long kick, slightly miskicks it, trying to find Akers. It's spoiled into his midriff, spills down towards Cripps for the Eagles, playing against his cousin Paddy's team today. Of course, no Paddy out there. Gives it to Kelly. Kelly kicks to Marrick, turns, heads to centre half forward, and Petrocelli marks.
Good bit of ball movement, but there's pretty good defence in the end. It was young Hewitt that, like what you see from him, really explosive at a young age, has a real crack. I don't think he's got the tank at the minute just to get through at such high intensity in AFL games for 4 quarters anyway, but brought about the turnover and then got the ball with Kelly. Marriage, a really good kick from the young fella back inside to Petrocelli. Shot on goal.
Petrocelli has one of their 2 goals already. This kick is out to the right and stays there. It's a behind. Carlton lead it by 80 points. 3 minutes into the third. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, Sam Walsh update. He's sitting in the back row at the moment. Carlton will be running with a 3-man bench, and Sam Walsh, no ducks and drakes here.
Bad news for Carlton, but they do go coast to coast, get a free kick inside forward. No, it's a free kick against them. And Hoff to take the free kick inside the defensive 50 for the Eagles. Hand passes to Witherden, who hand passes back to Hoff. Chips it short to Hunt, centre half back for the Eagles. And kicked the first 2 behinds of this third quarter. Carlton by 80. Hunt flares the kick out wide to Allen, playing against Charlie Curnow. He's got 7 goals already in a half of footy. Allen can wind up and kick a long bomb to the wing. Bailey Williams in the contest, couldn't come down with it. Picked up by Petrocelli, spun on the 360, got the hand pass out to Hewitt and now to Hunt. Hand pass into the middle of the ground to Chesser, who was dispossessed. No free kick. As Ed Curnow dives on top of the footy, along with a couple of others, and we've got a stoppage inside the centre square.
15-8 to 2-6, an 80-point lead for Carlton. 3.5 gone in this third quarter. Umpire chucks it up to Koning, wins the hit out for Carlton. Dow passing through the stoppage, almost took on one too many. She gives a hot footy to Newman, he's tackled, dispossessed. Duggan gets it out for the Eagles, hand pass to Kelly. Kicks an absolute helicopter as it spins and floats goalward, and in the end helped through for a rush behind. What was that one, Beach?
Wounded duck.
Yep. It was one of those. 79-point lead for Carlton. 3 behinds to start the second half for the Eagles.
Gutman with the kick in, chip short to Sard. Kicks laterally to Wiedering in the back pocket. And hand pass back to Sard. Long kick down the line to Koning in a one-on-one against Williams and beats him. Takes the mark. Hand pass to Akers from the logo broadcast side. Kicks up towards half forward. Not a great kick. Allen in best position for the Eagles. Picks it up, gives it to Hearn. On the back flank, under pressure. And that affects the kick. Out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Carlton at left half forward. Let's get down to Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Well, we know that Sam Walsh and Jack Silvani are sitting in the back row, 3-man bench for the Blues, but Motlop has just turned up with a left calf, very heavily strapped. He's pretty ginger on it. They might give it a test.
Thanks, Ian. As the kick from Dow goes into the pocket, Allen's there, wins it for West Coast, pumps it back out of the defensive arc. To centre half back, Petrovsky, seat in the long sleeves, has it, tackled, ball up. Centre half forward for Carlton. So Oscar Allen staying at fullback on Charlie Curnow. Kicked 3 on him in the second term. Kicked 4 on Hoff in the first. 7 for the game so far for Charlie Curnow. From the restart, Hunt has it. Tackled, dispossessed. Ball comes out. Ump says play on. Hurried kick forward from Gaff. And in the end, it's Petrocelli who takes the mark.
One of those was on cold, mate, so I'll defend Oscar Allen. Didn't quite get 3 on him.
I'll put him down for 2. As Witherden with the 1-2 to Duggan. Floats a hand pass down the wing to Petrocelli. No U-turns here as he looks out wide, gives a hand pass to Duggan, kicks to half forward. Petrocelli leaves it for the boys. And Jamie Cripps takes the mark, 45 out right half forward.
It's like they're trying to get a bit more speed on the ball this quarter, isn't it, Zachy? With a bit more overlap hands, using the outnumber a lot, particularly from their half backs. Encourage them to get off and create that overlap run and get involved a number of times in their offensive chains.
Yeah, I think Carlton typically play quite high on D and they love to front their opposition players. So if you can break one of those lines and get it out the back, you typically get players forward of the footy potentially by themselves.
Zach Merritt on grandstand AFL as Jamie Cripps pulls the trigger. He's got it. Straight through it goes, and the Eagles have kicked the first of the third quarter. fact, they've started well. They've had 4 scoring shots, 1 goal, 3. To Carlton's yet to score. We've travelled 6.5 minutes into the third term. Carlton's lead cut to 73, 15-8 to 3-7.
It still looks like a bit of kick mark in their defensive 50 for West Coast, but once they get the ball in this midfield, they're looking to use their hands a little bit more, get that overlap run, even the forward handball, as Junior is alluding to, that generally invites kind of pressure from behind, but they've been able to get through a number of times and find those loose forwards that generally when you have to come forward to defend, you create an overlap that's forcing Carlton's defenders to come up and try and pressure the guy with the ball in the hands, which frees up their forward.
Back in the middle, good bounce. Williams over the top of De Koning. Picked up by Doherty, shrugs the tackle, hand pass to Cunningham. Hand pass is looking for Doherty, under pressure by O'Neill. It's picked up by Hewitt. From half forward, chips inside the arc, and it's a mark to Cottrell. 40 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
The positive is that Charlie Curnow doesn't have the ball, having a shot on goal. Give it to someone else.
I think the player I've loved to watch today as well, he's been in the VFL for large chunks of the year, but Paddy Dow, I think his explosiveness has been on show, and he's a player I think that looks to go forward with the footy. I'm not sure what his meters gained, but him around the stoppage I think's added a new dimension to sort of that Carlton midfield that does bat pretty deep as well.
Cottrell on the approach. The kick looks pretty good off the boot. It's fading late. Only for a minor score. Margin out to 74. Carlton 15-9, 99. West Coast 3-7, 25. 8 played third term.
High draft pick, of course. Paddy Dow seems a bit of a fan favourite. The Carlton fans always keen to have him in the team when he gets a look in. Short kick along the boundary line from Witherden, trying to feed it to Darling. Can't reel it in, and it's out of play. Throw in half forward for the Blues.
It's very hard. It's not hard to feel sorry for him, is it, when you're running around the twos, regularly getting 30 plus possessions and hitting the scoreboard, and then can't get a look in at senior level because of the strength of the senior team and the quality of players they do have in there.
From the boundary, Charlie Hollands, what a kick. Put it straight into the leading lane of Charlie Curnow. He hugs it to his chest and he'll go back to try and kick his 8th.
It's gone to Zachy Merritt like on the left, but the only difference is it was Holland's opposite foot, wasn't it? So Oscar Allen had a really good, strong position, aggressive position, protecting that dangerous space, and just the kick across the body from Hollands, just to the advantage of Charlie Curnow, is arguably hard to stop, or couldn't stop it. But when you get quality of disposal of that inside 50.
In he comes, Charlie Curnow, the Colossus. He's got 8. In less than 2.5 quarters of footy. The second biggest bag of his career, only behind the 9 he kicked against West Coast just a couple of weeks ago. And he's still got the better part of a quarter and a half to come. 10 gone third term, Carlton by 80. Curnow's got 8. Carlton 16-9, West Coast 3-7. Brendan Goddard and Zach Merritt.
What's the biggest bag in terms of goals in the last 2 decades? Is it still Buddy's 13?
Oh, I can't remember one higher than that.
20 years, yeah.
Than 13.
That's 20 years?
Yeah. I remember Josh Bruce
going back to 2003, so when
Josh
I
Bruce
started.
kicked 10 here, I reckon, on a Good Friday, and then
Bruce,
we had
yeah.
a 10 with Tex earlier in the year.
10 here.
See, 10 or 12?
He might have been 12, I think.
12.
Really?
Yeah,
12.
against Essendon.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we'll chuck it out there. 0437 774 774, the SMS number, but I'm pretty sure 13 would be the high water mark.
West Coast winning out of the middle. O'Neill snaps it towards half forward. Gets out the back to Petrovsky. Seaton close to the boundary line. Gives it to Darling. Hooks the kick around the corner to the goal square. Petrocelli with the fly. Picked up by Gav. He gives it to Marek. Left foot snap. And he sneaks it through. Great finish from the teenager. West Coast get another on the board. Lead now 74. Carlton 16-9. 105 to the Eagles 4-7-31. 11 played third term on Grandstand AFL.
They're outscoring them, isn't it?
Those centre bounce wins are crucial, aren't they? You get it into your forward 50, 6v6 with the new rules. It just gives you so much more space to work with and put their defence under a bit of pressure. It's been something that the Blues have dominated for the most part of the afternoon.
Yeah, we just saw that stat, mate. 33-18 clearances, but I don't have the number for centre square clearances, but as you alluded to, it's the opportunity to actually have 6 ahead of the ball without a spare, and you've generally got space deep inside 50.
Number 1 pick in the mid-season draft. A couple of weeks ago, he was still working at Woolies out in Druin. And now he's playing for the West Coast Eagles. His 6th game at AFL level. Such a feel-good sort of introduction to mid-season draft in recent years. Oh, collision. O'Neill and the umpire just bang bodies on the wing. They're both okay and back to their feet. The Eagles have worked the ball out wide in front of the interchange gates. Kelly away towards Bailey Williams. Hand pass to O'Neill. Gives it to Gaff to Hunt. Handball chain for the Eagles, but going the wrong way. Goes all the way back, Gaff to Allen. He kicks in front of the benches to Bailey Williams. He takes the mark. Late change at the Gabba, by the way. Gary Rowan is out. Zach Tui takes his place in the selected side for Geelong. A long kick down to half forward. Darling drops a mark he should have taken. Spills to Petrevski-Seaton. Cuts back inboard. Made it tough for Gaff. Collides with Fogarty. Spills out to Cole. Hand pass got it to Darling, but it's a hot footy. Fogarty's in there again. He's tackled by Petrevski-Seaton and a ball up. Half forward for the Eagles. Bombers had good success recently with the mid-season draft. Zach, last couple of years?
Yeah, we've done really well, I think, to have Sam Durham come in mid-season. Also SSP with Nick Martin's been an unbelievable player. Amazing how he could miss 2 or 3 drafts previously, but to come in and have the impact those two have had in particular has been phenomenal.
West Coast at half forward through Gaff, long to the Darling direction, but Wiedering, a great mark to him in the last line of defence. Chips it to McGovern. Sends a long kick to the outer side over the head of Hollands, and Bazzo with the intercepting grab for the Eagles. Chips inboard to Hunt, adjacent to the centre square. Good kick into the middle of the ground of Chesser. Continue the switch to Witherden, who's all alone on the broadcast wing. Has time, has space. Sends it in the Darling direction. Couldn't complete the mark, but he might get a free kick. In fact, he was paid the mark. Jack Darling, 20 metres out directly in front.
That was a good bit of ball movement from West Coast, where young Bazzo had the courage to actually play up in front of Motlop and intercept that kick that they were trying to get over the back. And then he changed the angles, brought it back inside the corridor, and then they were able to get it back on the other side of this far wing, or not far wing, this close wing in front of the interchange, and then had a lot more space. It was a pretty good kick by Witherden to Darling's advantage.
Darling takes care of business and gets West Coast 3rd goal in this 3rd quarter. Margin is under 70 points, back to 68. Carlton 16-9, 105 to West Coast 5-7, 37. 15 played in this 3rd quarter. Jack Darling kicked career goal number 500 last week.
I didn't think I'd say this, but I think West Coast are on top this quarter, aren't they? There's
3 goals to 1.
Yeah, not on the scoreboard, but just I think in disposal, their clearance works a lot better. Pressure around the ball when they lose it.
Contested possessions 15-3. Overall
Carlton's
numbers.
way.
The West Coast way. 63 to 28 disposals. So they've had 35 more disposals, the Eagles.
Yep. So doing a lot right. West Coast, a good response after half time.
Back to 68 points. Back in the middle. Dow taps it away, but straight to the Eagles through O'Neill as he gets the centre clearance. Tumbles a kick out to half forward. Petrevski-Seaton and Chincotta give chase. Petrevski-Seaton, dangerous tackle. Slung him around, and Chincotta's head just bouncing off the turf. He's slow to get up. And Petrevski-Seaton, that is the spinning motion that the AFL are trying to eradicate as he rips him down. And Chincotta is slow to rise. It's a free kick on the spot. And Petrevski-Seaton will have a nervous wait ahead of the MRO, you'd think, given from what we've seen.
I actually just missed that. I'm waiting for a replay, but if there's head contact on the ground in a tackle, regardless of what it looked like, he's going to be in trouble. As Zachy can allude to, you don't have to make comment, mate.
No comment on that one.
But,
and he was checked out earlier in the game, Chincotta as well.
Well, that looked worse than yours, Zach. It's probably fair to say that is the old school sort of spinning motion, rips him from one side of the body to the other and into the ground. And Chincotta's pushed away the trainers. He wants to take his kick, but gee, that was he looked like he was seeing stars for a moment as the kick heads in front of the benches. To Coney marks, got a shot from Bazzo, 50. Is this the 4th 50 the Eagles have given away?
Yep, that we can think of. Bit of feedback there from the supporter.
Now Tacone.
Coming through the line.
Tacone's going to have a set shot here from 50 out. The off-contract blue carrying the ruck in the absence of Pitternet. He kicks from just inside the 50, misses out to the left. Carlton by 69, 17 gone third term. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, the doctor got very active there after Chincotta had taken the kick. He tried to run into the midfield. The doctor tagged him beautifully, though, and said, "You are not going any further, son." And off he is now sitting on the bench, along with Motlop, who's getting that calf looked at. They're down to 1 at the moment, the Blues.
Keeping you busy down there, Ian. Keep us up to date.
Certainly turnstiles here at the moment, Jess.
Of course, both subs activated in the first half. Lewis Young in for Silvani and Xavier O'Neill in for Luke Shuey with a hamstring injury as West Coast work it to half back to Cole. Aggressive kick into the centre of the ground. Nice contested grab taken by Kelly. His hand pass to O'Neill. Kicks out wide in front of Bazzo. Can paddle it to his own advantage. Loop the hand pass over the top to Hewitt. A half-forward run down by Hollins. Stoppage at half-forward for the Eagles. Carlton by 69 halfway through this third term.
Again, good bit of ball movement from West Coast. Just that last decision by young Bazzo just to give the hands to Hewitt was a wrong one when he's got time and space and the forwards are looking for him to get it inside 50.
Takoning grabs it out the right, gets the clearance, but straight to Sheed of the Eagles. Hand pass to Allen, long high kick inside 50. Hands to it, but no mark for Jack Williams, and Saad just bangs it back out of the defensive arc for Carlton. Curnow clever, taps it down, that's Charlie, down to the advantage of Fogarty, floats a kick to half forward, the 233s, Young and Bazzo. Bazzo wins it for the Eagles. Oh, a little casual, just kicks it back inboard. Trickles away to Duggan, and the Eagles win it through Sheed. He goes long across the ground and finds Gaff right in the middle of Docklands. Looks for a runner. He's got one in Jaden Hunt, the former Demon. Kicks it to the top of the goal square. Big climb, Elijah Hewitt can't complete the mark. Falls to McGovern of the Blues. Hand pass away to Newman. And a handball off to Cowan, who just bangs it out to half back. Bouncing footy, stays alive.
West Coast through Marek. Hand passes defensively to Hearn. Chips laterally to O'Neill at left half forward for the Eagles. A good quarter, 3-1, West Coast way. Sends a high bomb into the pocket to a big pack. It's off hands. Petreski seated at the bottom of the pack trying to feed out the hand pass. It does spill out to Kelly. He's tackled by Cottrell. Got the hand pass out. But Carlton through Akers and Dow can rebound off half back. The kick goes over the head of Curnow in a one-on-one with Allen, who fists it to space. Curnow's still there. Toe pokes it along the ground. Allen goes to ground. Paddles it into space. Hearn soccers it off the deck. Ball in dispute on the outer side, picked up by Gaff. He's tackled to the ground. Stoppage on the city side wing. Let's go down to Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, keeping me busy is exactly what's going on. Chincotta's actually gone down into the race to Carlton Sheds again, but unsighted yet. He's been down there 2 or 3 minutes.
Takoning outpoints. Jack Williams is in the ruck. There's a free kick. It's going to George Hewitt. He's got a little shove in the back from Duggan. Hawthorn, by the way, leading that game against Richmond by 25 points, 5 minutes into the final term. Kick inside 50 for the Blues. Floating across, Cole spoils. Honey's there, close to the boundary line. He's outnumbered. The Eagles win it back. Cole, hand pass away to Gaff, to O'Neill. His hand pass is picked off. There's a flashing advertising hoarding right in front of where the players are. As Dow gets a kick away, it's smothered. Ricochets out of bounds, where the throw-in half forward for the Blues.
I thought that was a photography lens or something. It was... But you're right, it is the advertising. It's very
reminds me of
off-putting.
a red light camera when you go through.
Yes.
Damn it! Got me.
Ball back into play. Quick kick from Honey into the pocket. Ed Curnow attacks the contest. Gets the hand pass out. Now Cottrell on the end of it. Left foot snap towards goal. He's hit the woodwork for a minor score. Carlton by 70. 16-11, 107 to West Coast 5-7, 37. 20 minutes played now in this third term.
Eagles winning the quarter by 2 goals, 3-3 to 1-3, but 70 points the margin, as Jess mentioned. Sheed marks the kick out, goes long down the wing for the Eagles, spills to Saad of the Blues. Oh, hand pass away to Hollins. He missed his fist, trying to hit the footy on the handball and coughed it straight up. Jack Williams handball out of bounds, and we'll have a throw in front of the benches. It's a bit overrated, the handball game. Now they throw in here with concerns for Chincotta and Motlop on the bench. Motlop with the calf, Chincotta going through the concussion test. Walsh a suspected hamstring, Silvani a knee injury. So they've banged up the Blues despite the wide margin on the scoreboard as DeConing hacks it forward. Charlie Curnow is held without it. Tackle lingered from Allen.
I think it was prior to that he was suggesting that he grabbed his jumper.
Crowd screaming for the goals. He's about 70 out at left half forward, Charlie Curnow. He's got 8 already, 1 in the quarter, goes back and across to Doherty. Now he kicks inside 50 again. Cottrell hits up, hands it to Cowan, snaps top of the goal square. And caught at the back is Young. Mark taken by Witherden on the behind line. The Eagles' last line of defence.
Chips it short to Hearn. Close up against that boundary line. And now finds Sheed. Still inside defensive 50. Now the long kick to the outer side to a contest. It's off hands and out of play for a throw-in.
Who did you support growing up, Zach?
Big Western Bulldog supporter growing up. A lot of prelims. Not quite. The Saints kept knocking off. The Dogs in the prelims couldn't quite get the grand final tickets.
I think he hated me back then.
Hard to. Rewatch toe poke.
The under throw in, DeConey wins it down. Petrocelli's hand pass ends up with Hewitt, who's locked up straight away. That's Elijah Hewitt. 70 points, Carlton's lead. Here's DeConey. Grabs it out of the ruck. Hand pass away to Newman. Handball in the middle of the ground. Finds Kemp. He goes back by hand to McGovern. Short kicks and turnover. Gaff takes the intercept mark, and there's that intent from the Eagles, trying to move it on at all costs. Away to Cole. Cole pokes the pass down to half forward. Gaff marks, rides the contact. From Cowan floating in. And now the lefty. He's just going to kick the centre half forward. The kick favoured DeConey more than anyone else. And he takes the intercept mark, centre half back for the Blues.
And passes to Hewitt. Kicks long down the line to a one-on-one. O'Neill against, I think that's Akers out there, and Akers wins the free kick. And the logo City side. Elects to kick backwards to Wiedering. He can switch it to Kemp at centre half back, and he goes there. Has Newman on the broadcast wing, decides to go straight up the corridor. Dangerous kick as Hewitt comes in with the spoil. Ricochets to Kemp, who overran it. Picked up by Sard. Loops the hand pass over the top, looking for it down. There's a whistle and all of that. Free kick to Carlton. Who's it going to? Kemp, he was held. No, Sard, in fact. Take the free kick right in the centre of Docklands. It's Carlton by 70.
There's the Wolf. As Sard kicks inside 50. Charlie Curnow hitting up. Hands on it from Cole. Spills through to Bailey Williams. Hand pass away to Long, and he feeds it to Cole for the Eagles, who kicks in front of the interchange. Darling the target and whacked away by Kemp. Boundary throw in right in front of the benches. I've got some answers for you, Beach, of biggest bag since 2000. You're right. Lance Franklin in 2012 with 13. You have to go way back to the year 2000 for Scott Cummins, who kicked 14 at the whacker.
Who against?
Adelaide, back in the year 2000. So that's the biggest haul since then. In the last, 23, 24 seasons now is 13 for Lance Franklin. Curnow with 8 so far today as the Eagles work it down to half forward. Wiedering picks it up. He's tackled and held up. And the ump says, I'll have it. Ball up here, half forward for West Coast. Carlton by 70. The Eagles leading the quarter, though, by 2 goals. And at the MCG, it is Hawthorn who lead the game by 17 points halfway through the final term. Toronto's just gold, so make that 11 points. Hawthorn's lead halfway through the last.
Blood roll here for Carlton. Lewis Young coming to the bench. Gash on his leg.
They've only got the one player to come on, so they don't have any more rotations than the display of 17 in the field.
From the stoppage, Doherty to Hewitt down the line, out of bounds on the full. They have to, I think. Beach. Let's get downstairs to Ian Cohen.
It happened so quickly, Josh Honey even forgot his mouth guard. He just had it thrown to him there while he's standing on the mark. So that blood rule, but they do only have the one rotation, and Honey was getting worked on his left lower leg as well.
As Hearn goes down to half forward, Darling the target. DeConey just slots it away down the long for the Eagles. Hand pass to Chesser, handball away to Hunt. Kicks across the ground. Witherden pick up the footy that always stops spinning completely on that logo of the outer wing. Untidy kick down to half forward. Kind bounce for the Eagles. Petrevski-Seaton's onto it. He's tackled. He's jeered immediately after his tackle earlier on Chincotta, and a ball up here half forward for West Coast. It'll be coming full circle for Carlton, given that famous game against the Giants where they ripped players off late, and I think they played with 17 at the end and decided just to warehouse a few players late in the piece.
Dow from the stoppage, kicks up towards half forward. Curnow on the end of it. He can wheel and go for 50 out of an unguarded goal square. He's got 9. And the crowd erupts as Charlie Curnow's goal fest continues. Carlton out to 76-point lead, 17-11, 113 at West Coast, 5-7-37, 26 played. Third term on Grandstand AFL, Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard, your experts.
He's somewhat been unsighted this quarter, hasn't he? So he's found himself somehow on Bazzo, which Oscar Allen's done a really good job. You said that he got 3 on him in the second, but I give him 2. So he's somehow found himself on Bazzo and then just, again, taking a contested mark. Why not just roll on when you've got 8 already today and just have a shot from about 55 on the logo.
I love how every time he gets the ball, regardless if he's in the back pocket, he rolls. You know where the ball's going to go, which is very predictable as a teammate.
Zach Merritt on Grandstand AFL. So 9 for Curnow equals his career best against the Eagles, or career best period, also against the Eagles earlier in this year. As the Eagles work it inside to forward 50 through Kelly. Turns it over though. Sard off the back flank. Hand pass away to Doherty. Carlton crowd getting involved now. Ed Curnow hits up on the wing, trying to pick up the half volley. Hand pass missed Doherty. Ed Curnow has a second go. Hand pass away to Hollands, just inside the boundary line. Gives it to Fogarty. Hand pass back to Ed Curnow. Floats a high kick down to half forward. Cunningham trying to mark, can't do so. Spills to Petrevski-Seaton. It's in the back surely against Cowan. Free kick for Petrevski-Seaton, and they'll get a chance to jeer him here after a dangerous tackle earlier in the quarter. Petrevski-Seaton at half back for West Coast.
Chips to Hunt on the point of the centre square, and he takes off and has a bounce, running across the ground and kicks to the broadcast side. Bounces in front of Bazzo, has a fumble. The pressure applied by Curnow. Hand pass to Hoff. And now the hand pass to Chesser. His kick down the line is a good one, and they can move it forward. Duggan to Cripps, has a bounce at half forward. Kicks long to the teeth of goal. The big fist came from De Koning, who sends it over for a rush behind. Margin 75, Carlton 17-11, 113. West Coast 5-8-38, 29 played, third term.
Again, good bit of ball movement in West Coast. There was pretty good pressure from Carlton, but I think it was just young Hoff, was it, that had the courage just to kick that ball or look inside anyway and bring the ball back inside, and they get the overlap run from Cripps, and there was just that last kick inside 50, which we know is the hardest in the game, just couldn't quite finish.
Eagles win the kick out back. Duggan hands it to Bailey Williams. Kicks into the pocket. Wiedering trying to trap it. Stolen by Petrevski-Seaton, forward pocket. Hand pass away to Chesser. Lays it up top of the goal square. Got pushed into it at the end. Darling shoves his direct opponent. Kemp, who's up in the air and takes the intercept mark. Half hour mark. Third quarter. 17-11 to 5-8. It's Carlton by 75. Short kick to Akers. He goes long and wide out to Newman, who marks just inside the boundary line. He says, pump the brakes. The last of the sand just runs out of the hourglass. And that'll do us. To three-quarter time, the short kick to Doherty. West Coast win the quarter. Something they haven't done too much of in season 2023. That's just their 12th quarter won for the year. So a fifth third quarter victory for the West Coast Eagles. In that term, they kicked 3 goals for to Carlton's 2-3. The 2 goals for Carlton, though, both went to Charlie Curnow, which gives him 9. And after kicking 9 against the same opponents back in round 7, you can make that 18 goals in 7 quarters of footy against the same opponents. He kicked 4 in the first quarter, 3 in the second, and now 2 in the third. Charlie Curnow, he has 9 with a quarter to play. 2 for Jesse Motlop, 1 for Silvani, Walsh, Newman, Ed Curnow, Honey and Chincotta. While for West Coast, 1 each for Cripps, Petruccelli, Darling, Marrick and Long. 17-11 to 5-8, a 75-point lead for Carlton. Three-quarter time at Docklands. Meanwhile, the injury front is really as much of the story as anything at this stage of the game. Sam Walsh has got a hamstring injury. He didn't play after the halfway mark of the second term. Jack Silvani's got a knee injury. He was subbed out early in the second quarter. Motlop's come off. He's got his calf heavily taped. And Alex Chincotta was the victim of a dangerous tackle from Petrevski-Seaton. Suspected concussion. He's had the test. We haven't seen him return. And Louis Young was even cut on his leg late in that period, so they didn't have a single rotation for the last 5 minutes. While for the West Coast Eagles, same old story for Luke Shuey, subbed out in the second quarter with a suspected hamstring injury. The thoughts of Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard in just a moment on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and through the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Ah, you're here for the fortune telling. Please sit down. You seek enlightenment and entertainment, engagement and excitement via your ears. In your future, I see the ABC Listen app, and I see you joyously grooving to a great range of music, informed and entertained by award-winning podcasts, and connecting to your community and current affairs with live radio. You've heard enough. I don't want your money. The ABC Listen app is as free as knowledge itself. Now go and download the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
On the boundary, Jolene Hollins, what a kick. Put it straight into the leading lane of Charlie Curnow. He hugs it to his chest and he'll go back to try and kick his 8th. In he comes, Charlie Curnow, the Colossus.
Darling hooks the kick around the corner to the goal square. Petrocelli with the fly. Picked up by Gav. He gives it to Marek. Left foot snap. And he sneaks it through. Great finish from the teenager. Down from the stoppage. Kicks up towards half forward. Curnow on the end of it. He can wheel and go from 50 out. It's an unguarded goal square. He's got 9. And the crowd erupts as Charlie Curnow's goal fest continues.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there in the third quarter. It was a quarter won by the West Coast Eagles. They outscored Carlton by 7 points, but after the carnage in the first half, they're playing from a long way back. It's Carlton by 75 points. 17-11 to West Coast 5-8. Meanwhile at the MCG, 5 to go. It's Hawthorn by 11 points over Richmond. What'd you make of that third term, Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard?
Yeah, it felt like West Coast ramped up a little bit around the ball, won a few more clearances, got in their forward half, but their ball movement was a little bit more creative. Once they sort of got past forward of centre, I think they were happy to handball a bit more, go forward, off the line, and got some pretty dangerous entries in. But I think, one for me, I mean, he stands up and plays consistently every single week. With Jacob Wiedering, there's no stat, I don't think, for goals defended. I mean, you can argue one-on-ones. Intercepts, but I think his ability to make oppositions have to change their ball movement, and his ability to win pure one-on-ones and get spoils that tend to go 20-25 metres plus and get away from the real dangerous drop zones is probably second to none. Maybe Darcy Moore, with his ability to intercept and come off his man and help his teammates, is up there. But I think Jacob Wiedering one-on-one, I don't know if there's many better in the game at the moment. Beej, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Stephen May kind of springs to mind, but just to go back to your point, just his ability to get in the right positions, that when the opposition do have the ball, and Zach is alluding to, that when they do look up, it forces you to actually change what they intended to do with the ball. So then by doing that, it actually delays and actually invites pressure, because his teammates have then got more time to apply pressure to the ball. So, and if they're out of position, it provides more time for your teammate, being Carlton teammate of Wiedering, to actually close space and reposition on your opponent. So, yeah, continually smart footballer, strong in the contest. But it was good for West Coast. Good response if you're sitting there listening at home or watching or doing both. There was a response. I don't think we all expected, them to come out and win that quarter in particular. It's 3 goals 4 to 2 goals 3, but across most stats, they're dominant. Plus 50 in disposals, which is kind of reflective of their kind of kick mark in the back half in particular. And as Zaki said, that when they're getting the ball in the midfield, they're actually then getting speed on the ball, which isn't allowing Carlton's defenders then to readjust or get the positioning, or Wiedering in particular to get the positioning he actually prefers and wants. So when you've got speed on the ball, the defenders, they're actually forcing them to do things they don't want to do. So it was a good bit of play. There was a bit of a change, I think, in directive at half-time from Simpson, the coaches, that when we do get in the midfield, let's get speed on the ball. So more of the kick mark, but in the clearances around the contest, they were a lot more halving, a lot more one-on-one contests or a 2v2 when the ball's kicked in. So a lot of positives for West Coast, but obviously the question is, can they sustain it for another quarter?
Carlton by 75. Charlie Curnow's got 9. First centre break for the Blues as DeConing grabs it out of the right, kicks it to centre half forward. Hoff's wrapped up, tackled. Ball comes out, says play on. George Hewitt, hand pass away to Ed Curnow, gives it back to Akers. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Kick favours Allen. Takes the intercept mark last line. How many does he end up with, Charlie Curnow Beach? Give me a number.
I said 12, so he's got 3 more this quarter.
Yep. Zach?
I'll just go with 10. Let's get one more. Someone will find him. Probably Ed will find him late in the game.
Allen with the 1-2 and then long kick out to half-back. Spills down to Akers, though. Threads a hand pass to Doherty. At half-forward, hand pass to Sard. Kicks for Charlie Curnow. Leaping up. Second grab. No. Umpire said touch by Allen. Now he's tackled. Ball comes out and Elijah Hewitt just gets it out of there.
He's turned it over. Chincotta's back on the ground in good news for the Blues. He gives it to Nick Newman, chips it into the pocket looking for Young, knocked away from him by Bazzo out of play for a throw-in 40 around from Carlton's goal. No score through the opening minute of this final term. Carlton by 75, and we're all on Charlie Curnow watch. He's got 9 to three-quarter time. Ball spun back into play. Doherty comes charging through. Gives it off to Hollins close to the boundary line. Kick towards the top of the square as a turnover. Hearn takes the mark for the Eagles.
He goes short to Gaff, who's got it at half-back. Ian Cohen is on the boundary. Koza.
Yes, as Jess addressed, Chincotta is back on, which is certainly good news for him and potentially good news for Sam Petreski-Seaton, but they're still short on the bench, and Motlop, I don't suggest, will take any further part.
Thanks, Ian. Kick from Gaff goes down the line, just trying to usher it over the boundary line. McGovern gets his desired result, the boundary throw-in.
Now would be a good time, I would have thought, just to slow the game down if you're Carlton having such a lead. So go into a bit of kick mark, take some speed out of the game, prevent collisions at high speed. They can't really afford to have any more injuries this game, but moving forward as well.
Taccone grabs it out of the ruck, kicks down to half forward, spun around Witherden, got a hand pass away for the Eagles, out to Duggan. To Elijah Hewitt, links up with Kelly through the centre square. Kicks into open space out on the city wing. It bounces in front of Long. Chincotta's right there. Chincotta lays the tackle immediately and forces the neutral ball. Ball up on the city wing. It's Carlton by 75 points. 3 minutes to go. 3 minutes into the last. 2 minutes to go, by the way, at the MCG. 5-point game. Hawthorn lead Richmond. We'll keep you updated. Final 2 minutes at the G.
De Koning takes it out of the ruck for the Blues. Wobbly kick to half forward. Dow on the end of a chain of hand passes. Fakes one way towards goal. It bounces home. Something special from Paddy Dow. And Carlton get the first goal of the last. Archer back out to 81. 18-11, 119 to West Coast. 5-8-38. And Paddy Dow's had a good afternoon. 18 disposals. And now a goal to his name.
Along with 7 clearances as well, so yeah, he's got to make the most of his opportunity. Some people will say it is against West Coast, but trying to put his best foot forward that when Chera, Cripps, well now with Sam Walsh potentially out of the team moving forward, he's got a great opportunity here to string a few together and keep his spot in the team.
So Mackay's going to miss a number of weeks. Chera's listed as a hamstring, so you'd ordinarily think that's more than one, and Cripps, a Corky, hasn't trained all week. On the severe end, obviously missing this game, and they've got Collingwood on Friday night on a 6-day break. What a showdown that'll be. Walsh with a hamstring is picked up in play here. Dow gives it to George Hewitt. His hand pass comes wide, ends up with Duggan though for the Eagles. Short kick finds Petruccelli half forward.
Tigers have hit the front too by a point, Corbs. Minute 3 to go in that game.
Hawthorn led for much of the day. 1 point lead for Richmond, waning moments there. Top of the goal square for the Eagles, picked off by Hollins. Trickles a kick out to halfback. Cottrell clever. Taps it away from the defender, but only into the path of Hunt. Kicks a high up and under. Chesser competes with Chincotta. They both share it over the boundary line. A throw in half forward for the West Coast Eagles. You praised Paddy Dow earlier. Zach, what do you like about his game?
I think he is a bit different to the other midfielders. He's got a bit of explosiveness and dynamicness around the ball to get the ball and take it forward. I think he's a player that is a real metres gain inside 50 type of midfielder that gets forward and has score launches, and as we said in that goal before with a nice sidestep and kick from 55. I think he's a bit different to your Cripps, who's a really inside player. Hewitt a bit slower but really good inside, and Walsh is an amazing contest to contest work rate player, but I think Dow is a different type of player, and I think he's been churning out some really consistent games in the VFL, which I've got no doubt recruiters from all clubs have observed and watching and wondering why he can't get in. But as Beach said before, they've got a number of A-grade players in there as well that it's pretty hard to push out.
West Coast work it inside forward 50, and Bailey Williams takes a nice grab in the pocket. And he can line up for a set shot at goal. Carlton with the first goal of the last quarter. Margin got out to 83 points just before half-time. West Coast have been in the contest since then. Bailey Williams, 40 out, 10 in from the boundary. Set shot's on its way. And it's a good strike. Bailey Williams gets on the score sheet. Margin back to 75. Carlton 18-11, 119 to West Coast. 6-8, 44. 6 minutes played, final term. Grandson AFL. Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard, your experts.
Sorry,
You've been watching the
Jess.
TV,
We're
haven't
just
you?
watching the TV.
Tell us what's happening,
The
Beach.
Tigers have just won by a point, so there's a bit of luck involved there. Hawthorn were pushing really hard from the last centre square bounce to get it forward, and then it was a scrap kick from centre half forward, kind of half back flank for Richmond that somehow found its way to, who was it? Pickett standing in the middle, kind of middle of the ground by himself. The ball could have went anywhere, and that was pretty much the game. There was only 25 seconds to go in that quarter, and they played a bit of kick catch and wasted the last 25 seconds. So amazing comeback. Another good mate of mine, Andrew McWalder, gets another win by a point. I told him the other month that if continues with these close games, he won't have any of that lush hair that he's currently got.
Blues long kick forward. Doherty going to Charlie Curnow. Can't take the mark. Follows up at ground level. Kick smothered. And the Hoff just bangs it back out of the defensive 50 for the Eagles. Sheed's there. Slips over. Got a hand pass out to Chesser. Feeds a handball forward, but only Blues players at the drop. Fogarty. Hand pass away to Hollands. In that launch pad, 70 out. Kicks inside 50. Charlie Curnow down there. Basso stands in front. Takes the intercept mark, and the crowd just willing into double digits. He's kicked 9, Charlie. Bazzo's kick goes wide to Sheed, marks at half-back. So Hawthorn led that game by 36. Richmond come back in the waning moments to win it by a point. So the Tigers by 1 full-time over Hawthorn.
Long kick to the outer wing, knocked away from Darling, out of play for a boundary throw-in between wing and half forward. Carlton into attack, the margin 75. They're led by 57 at quarter time, 82 at half time. Margin cut to 75 at the last break, and we've had a goal apiece so far in this final term. Carlton looking for 5 in a row. Chesser from the stoppage, and pass couldn't find a target, and it is out of play for another throw-in.
We've got Chad Wingard with us tomorrow for Grandstand AFL Sunday. I don't think he's going to be too happy, Chad. Hasn't played in too many winning teams with the Hawkers, and gee, that was one that got away 6 goals up in the second half, and Richmond reeled them in to win by a point. It keeps their finals push alive for Richmond from the boundary throw-in. First possession, George Hewitt for the Blues. Hand pass away to Newman. Handball to Hollands. Kicks inside 50. Cole stands in front of DeConing. Takes the intercept mark for the Big Birds. Kicks in the middle of the ground. He's long alongside the centre circles for the Eagles. He kicks inside 50. Darling has to come from a few back. Moves Kemp out of the way. Takes the mark. Jack Darling has kicked 1 so far today, but he's only had the 5 kicks. We haven't called his name a heap. He's going to have a set shot here just right of centre from about 30 out.
There's definitely been a kind of change and shift in the mentality with the ball in the hand, so taking a lot more risk, getting it back through the corridor whenever they can, and then by doing that, the game just opens up for them, and the forwards have got a lot more space when they do kick it in there.
Here comes Jack Darling, moves in on the set shot. That's good. He's got 2. And the West Coast make it a couple in a row. It's the second time today they've kicked back-to-back goals. 18-11, 119 Carlton. They lead West Coast 7-8-50. It's a 69-point advantage for the Blues. Charlie Curnow's got 9. The other key talking points, Walsh out with a hamstring injury, Silvani with a knee complaint, and Shuey did his hamstring in the second quarter for West Coast. Zach Merritt, Brendan Goddard.
It is amazing. If Long gets off his mark and waits 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds longer, Wiedering probably impacts that ball in the air. The ability to roll quick forward to centre is such vital and gold for forwards who can read that quick ball movement off the mid players, and that was a great option from Long going forward.
Carlton by 69. Back in the middle, Williams rises high against DeConing. Straight down at Fogarty, who's tackled immediately by O'Neill. We've got a secondary stoppage in the middle. Hewitt up to 26 disposals for Carlton. Gaff leading the way for West Coast at 25. From the ball up. Cripps trying to bustle his way through, can't do so. They've moved closer to goal. Ball up, centre half forward for West Coast.
Huge night of footy. Brisbane Geelong next at the Gabba on Grandstand AFL, and tonight for those of you in WA, Freo and Sydney, and of course 1v2 at Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide and Collingwood. The Eagles win it from the stoppage. O'Neill hands it out to Chesser, kicks forward. There's a free for a hold. Marrick and Wiedering wrestle. It's Wiedering's free. Ryan Marrick thought he was getting it for a moment. Blues by 69. 11 gone, final term. Goes back to Newman. Newman continues the switch out to Kent. Got it defensive side of the City wing. Short kick to Akers. Thought about playing on. Goes back to take his kick. And the Blues just short kick mark game here.
I think the message has gone out. Just the backs would be happy when they get that message. It's just feeling the boots now, just statting up.
Here's Newman, finds a hole in the centre square, hits up McGovern.
Where is he?
Marks front edge, kicks to Charlie and a 2-on-1. Curnow's got it! He had 2 to beat. He leaps up and has Velcro for hands as it sticks. And he's got a chance to try and make it double digits.
The crowd's been pretty flat for the last 5 minutes because I think the reality was that if Charlie doesn't kick 10, it feels like a loss.
For a career haul on a career day, he hits the post. A poster for Curnow.
What's his total? Is that his second point?
He now has 9 goals, 2.
9-2.
So 9-1 and a poster. Carlton by 70, 12 minutes gone, final term. Trying to get to 10 and equal Taylor Walker for the biggest bag in the season so far.
West Coast from the kick in with it, and short to Hearn, short to Hunt. It's a wobbly kick off the boot, picked up by Bazzo, hand pass to Hunt, and now to Gaff from left half back. Kicks down the line to Kelly, he dropped the mark, and then his hand pass is intercepted by Dow. He gives it to Kemp, and he kicks to Chincotta on the edge of the centre square. Send it back the other way. Nice kick finds Doherty, just forward of halfway. Close to the boundary line on this dock side of the ground. Carlton by 70, halfway through this final quarter. Plenty of numbers inside forward 50. Doherty just has to bomb it long. Can Charlie get it again? Drop the mark, follows up at ground level, right foot snap towards goal. King Charles has 10. And it's the biggest roar of the night here at Docklands. And it's still going. The crowd are on their feet in the stands. Charlie Curnow, a career high 10 goals. They're chanting his name in the stands. A wonderful performance. Carlton by 76, 19-12, 126 to West Coast, 7-8-50. 14 played final term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, you know it's your day, isn't it, when you drop a mark and the ball just falls in your lap on the ground and you literally just slap it on the boot across your body and it dribbles through. So I'd say 8 of his 10's probably come from snaps, haven't they? He's a component of the snap these days.
Just putting some serious distance on the common medal as well. A few rounds
What's
to go.
that? He's now 10 ahead.
11, yeah. So it was +1 coming into the weekend. And Taylor Walker obviously still plays tomorrow at the MCG. He's got Stephen May to try and contend with. The Demons, their opponents.
19 of his 61 goals this year have come against West Coast.
Yeah, in just over 7 quarters of footy. Stoppage win for the Blues. Hewitt kicks inside 50. Curnow on the pack again. Forced to spoil here. Out in front, Cunningham collects front and centre for the Blues. Hand pass to Ed Curnow. They're retreating though. Carlton goes back by hand to Cowan. Lays it off to George Hewitt. Kicks inside 50 again. And standing underneath it, Witherden takes the intercept mark. Half back for the Eagles. Oh, he goes on a bit of a stroll. Shakes a would-be tackle from Honey. Kick not a good one. Made it tough for Kelly. Spills down to Chesser for the Eagles. Sweeping hand pass in the middle of the ground. Cowan knocks it away to Jack Edwards. He's dispossessed going to ground. Cowan wins it back. Hand pass to Newman. Handball to George Hewitt. Gives it off to Akers. Looks for Curnow. There's 4 Eagles there. Allen puts his fist through it. No mark for Charlie Curnow. Pack forms behind him. In the end, the Eagles win it out. Hearn trickles a kick to Hunt at half back.
Has a bounce, runs himself into a bit of trouble, gets a hand pass out to Petrevsky Seaton, who fends off wide. Hand passes to Cripps, set him a task. Set upon immediately, ball up in the centre square. Carlton by 76, Corb.
Ian Coleman on the boundary.
Yeah, trouble for West Coast Eagles. Jack Williams has just hobbled off with 1 foot. He's really quite a fair bit of pain, obviously, at the moment. But the Kerno chant has been going around here at Docklands for quite a while. Carlton fans are only just sitting down, but the Eagles at the moment triple teaming him.
He's got 10, Big Charlie. It's Petrevski-Seton has the footy at half-back for the Eagles. Kicks down the line through a set of hands. Williams out the back, hand pass to Duggan, but they've turned it over. Hollins, he's stripped to the footy. Picked up by Duggan. Chips it towards half forward where Cripps marks. On the edge of 50, back to Duggan, who kicks it into the pocket. Looking for O'Neill. Squaring kick, finds Gaff in space. He's marked 35 out directly in front.
So the crowd posted at 34,954.
Good turn up against West Coast.
For a sellout.
Allegedly a sellout, though.
I have to talk about that area. I thought he was joking. Seriously?
That's what they said. Sold out.
52,053.
What classifies as a sellout?
Yeah.
What's tickets sold?
It's meant to be 50,000, but basically there's no more general admission tickets available.
Gaff directly in front, kicks the Eagles 8th. Carlton 19-12, 126. West Coast 8-8-56. 16 and a half played final term Grandstand AFL.
So that's poor by Carlton supporters then. Well, there's not 16,000 West Coast supporters that are meant to be here.
So the Marble Stadium make the argument that because of the Medallion Club and everything else and club members, it's hard to get to 50,000. But that's amazing that you can't buy a ticket apparently walking up, and yet only less than 35,000 are here.
Yeah.
16,000 spare seats.
Yeah, supposedly.
Yep.
That would have been a great result. Sell out against West Coast. Would have seen Charlie kick 10, maybe more.
Good day to be here, something historic.
Well, they can't blame the weather, can they?
No, not
Or maybe they can because they thought it was a good opportunity not to be under the roof. Inside.
It's not about Melbourne's winter's day. Sun out. Which doesn't happen all that often. From the restart, Bailey Williams wins it down. Elijah Hewitt, the centre break, put it straight on the chest of O'Neill, just drops it. He's going to get a second play out of it at half forward. Pack starts to form around him. Ump says, I'll have it. Ball up half forward for the Eagles. Interesting game next week for West Coast. Sunday twilight, they play North Melbourne at Perth Stadium, the team around their station. So sort of the bottom two teams going at it.
North got them last time too, didn't they? The famous that Clarko was on the bench.
Yeah, back in round 1.
Round 1, was it?
Yeah, so they'll do it again next Sunday. Of course, North have a date with your Saints tomorrow, Beach, before then to try and take care of from the restart. Sard, first clean disposal, hooks it over his shoulder, but straight to Duggan. Lays it off by hand to Jaden Hunt, loads up from 50. Kick is off target and bounces through from behind. Just underway, by the way, Brisbane and Geelong. Brisbane, the first score. It's a behind at the Gabba. We'll take you there next. And repeating full time at the MCG, a come-from-behind victory for Richmond. 36 points down against the Hawks. They win it by 1. So full time at the G, Richmond by 1 over Hawthorn. And here it's Carlton by 69. Charlie Curno's kick 10. 18 gone, final turn.
The Blues work it to the wing to a contest off hands. Underneath it, Ed Curnow gets the hand pass out to Akers. Shares it with Dow. Hooks the kick around the corner to a contest. Gets out the back. Eagles have representation. Bazzo to Cole to Hoff. Now to Hunt. Back to Cole. Close up against the boundary line. Kicks into the centre square and finds Petrevski-Seton at half-back and can continue the switch to Sheed on the outer side.
Sheed, of course, the premiership hero. Back in 2018, kicks in the middle of the ground for Elijah Hewitt. Number 8 on his back, pick 14 in last year's draft. He just steps around Cottrell on the mark, looks inside 50. Punched away by DeConing, straight to Petrevski-Seton, hooks it through for a goal. Kicks one against his old mob. It's been a mixed day for him up against his former side. He still hasn't got a victory against his old mates in 3 starts, and he's got a nervous wait. The match review officer to cast judgment over his dangerous tackle, but he gets a final quarter goal here. 19-12-126 Carlton. West Coast 9-9-63. The Blues by 63 points, time on final term. And the West Coast Eagles have quite comfortably won the second half.
Well, they are winning comfortably. They haven't won it yet. Still 10 minutes of footy.
They are 19 points up after half-time.
Yeah, which has been a good response. We've seen them in other weeks. Clearly just once a poor start, they just kind of got on their knees and just the opposition ran away with it. Obviously, the famous victory from Sydney about a month ago is probably entrenched in our minds.
Yeah.
From the restart, De Koning feeds Ed Curnow, gives it to Saad. Takes off from the centre square. A couple of bounces from half forward. Kicks to the top of the square. Chain of hand passes. Hewitt's on the end of it. Receives from Cottrell. Walks into an open goal. And the Blues get one back. Margin back out to 69. 20-12. 132 to West Coast 99-63. 21 gone. Final term. Grandstand AFL.
What's Charlie doing leading at the ball there and getting outside 50, Zach? He's just... I'll be telling you it. I'm starting in the square, mate. You just get up the field and get me the ball.
I must admit, when I looked up and seen it going long, I assumed it was going to be Charlie. But Hewitt's been probably one of the better top 2 or 3 players on the ground as well. His ability to win the clearance inside, give the ball to their users on the outside, to now go forward and kick a goal. He's had a pretty complete game, both offensively and defensively today.
That was his 30th disposal. His first goal, 10 score involvements for Hewitt and 6 inside 50. So, very good day.
Carlton's.
Is he getting the one vote then, is he? We've already got 3-2-1.
Carlton's percentage currently 116 on the live ladder, so it's gone up 5% in play so far. They bang on a couple of late goals here as Young feeds it through to Doherty. Kicks to Curnow! A one-hander! Holds out Oscar Allen. Reels it in with his right arm. We've seen the whole bag from Charlie today.
Well, we won't be snapping this, so chance for 11.
And Oscar Allen, the only other player along with Charlie Curnow to have kicked a goal in every game this year, and he hasn't kicked one and played only the first quarter in the forward line, and from that point on he's had a date with Charlie Curnow. From right on the 50, Curnow for 11, he misses, fades out to the left. 10 goals, 3 for Charlie Curnow. Carlton by 70 points.
Still plenty of time, 6 minutes to go. If the directive is to just kick it in his direction, you never know. Witherden with a long kick out for the Eagles. Wiedering with a fist against Darling. Cottrell has a go, spills to Ed Curnow. Wobbles a kick into the pocket. Witherden in front spot, can gather. Send it back to the wing. Darling from the side. Couldn't complete the mark. Has Kemp for company, who lays a tackle. Ball spills loose. Cottrell, Cunningham. He's coughed it up. And he tackles. And we've got a stoppage at half forward. O'Neill at the bottom of the pack. Carlton by 70. 23 gone, final term.
Walshahani, a knee complaint for Jack Silvani. The concerns coming out of it for Carlton. Obviously no Chera, no Cripps, no Mackay. And the restart, Akers swings a kick into the forward pocket, and it's smothered by Hoff over the boundary line. Throw in, 30 out from the Blues goal. Friday night, next start for Carlton up against Collingwood. Of course, the Pies on later tonight. Blockbuster game to start round 20. The AFL season, of course. The Blues denied a final spot last year by the Pies. Boundary throwing. Heavy tackle. Akers forces the ball out for Carlton. George Hewitt kicks into the pocket, and Allen leads Charlie Curnow to the footy. He marks back pocket for the Eagles. Full time at the MCG. Richmond by a point. Coming from behind, they fell 36 down, but they come back to beat Hawthorn by 1.
Allen short to O'Neill. Sub for the Eagles. Came on for Shuey with a hamstring injury earlier in the game. O'Neill long down the broadcast wing. There's a whistle for a block. And free kick to the Eagles. Marrick wins the footy for the visitors. Defensive side of halfway. Elects to kick all the way back to Allen at the top of the defensive goal square.
Switches on. At the Jaden Hunt is going to mark it right half back for the Eagles. Pokes the pass to Hoff. Started on Curnow, moved off him at quarter time. He goes short to Sheed. We'll take you to the gather next. Brisbane 1-2-8, leading Geelong 1 behind. So 7 minutes in there of game time. Entertaining tussle up in Brisbane in the twilight. And then, of course, the dual fixtures tonight. Collingwood and Port Adelaide 1v2. And for those of you out west, Fremantle and Sydney at Perth Stadium. Short kick from Hoff, finds Sheed, ugly kick inside the forward 50. Trickles its way through to Cripps, he tries to take on the tackler. Got a hand pass out to Kelly, kicks to Darling, can't complete the mark. Worried out of it by Akers, he's hurdled in the end by Petrocelli, grabs the footy, but hand pass missed the target. Cottrell for the Blues, hand pass away to Jim Cotter. Now Cunningham as a go. Trying to leap over the top. The hand pass eventually got its way through to Doherty at half back.
Now it opens up for the Blues. He hand passes to Akers on the wing. Chips it into the path of Ed Curnow, who's marked just forward of halfway.
There's got 4 Eagles getting back to try and cover off on Charlie Curnow.
Curnow chips it short to Newman. Kicks Lashley to De Koning at centre half forward. Holland's getting back there to try and help out Curnow as De Koning kicks laterally to Doherty at half forward.
Just to get near him, surely.
He got the right idea though. He's just hailing the cab, telling him, mate, just kick it in long. I'll have a crack at trying to take a pack mark. Doherty's going to do that. Lays it up right forward pocket. It'll be De Koning though at the drop. In the end, hits Bazzo in the face. Spills down to Hoff for the Eagles. Sharp hands away to Duggan. Floats a kick out of the defensive arc. Kent climbs up, takes the mark. Here we go. Carlton can reload. Charlie Curnow has 10, by the way, a career high. Equal season best. And now Kemp's going to go back to Saad. 2 minutes left on the game clock. Carlton by 70 points. They led by 82 at half time. Saad wants to go off the left side. Eventually kicks in the Charlie Curnow direction, trying to hold his positioning. Bailey Williams flies, no mark. Fogarty knocks it forward. Hoff's getting back, trips over. Fogarty keeps it alive. In the end, lost the handle. The ball goes out of play. Boundary throw-in. We're almost there. We've got final 2 minutes to go. 27 travelled final term, Carlton by 70.
Ball back into play. Curnow in ruck against Williams. Spills to Hunt of the Eagles. That almost is a throw. It is a throw. Free kick going Carlton's way. And is it Dow who's going to take it or Cunningham? It's going to be Cunningham. So he can line up for a shot. He's about 35 out. Slight angle to the left.
Another direct score from free kick. I found those stats earlier, but it's one of the things that have let West Coast down right from the beginning of the game. Free kicks in a 14-24 Carlton's way.
Carlton's shot. Cunningham's shot is a good one. He guides it home. Brings up the Blues' 21st goal of the afternoon. 21-13, 139 to West Coast, 9-9-63. 28 travelled. Final term on Grandstand AFL, Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard.
It's been amazing, hasn't it, the last 5 or 6 weeks now, how they've turned their offence around. I think they're averaging sort of 50 points there for a 4 or 5 week block against some top 8, top 4 teams, and then the last 5 weeks. I don't know what their average is, but they've kicked, I think, well over 15 goals almost every week, consistently, and look very dangerous all around the ground. It's amazing how it's a couple of tweaks to your game plan or your system and a bit of confidence can start to build and snowball pretty quickly, Beach.
Their last few scores, Zach, they've gone 120, 112, 98, 122, and then what are they today? 139. Big numbers.
And I think it was obvious that they'd been working on it for some time. So, they've got as many numbers and stats that they, as much as anyone, but they've been working on it for a number of weeks. It's just hard to change in season. That eventually you keep at it. It's going to change. You only got arguably probably an hour and a half each week to actually seriously work on your game plan and make serious tweaks in it.
Doherty with the centre break, kicks it to Tom De Koning, who takes the mark, and Charlie Curnow is standing.
Where is he?
He's at full back, standing sort of closest to the goals at the Lockett end for some reason. I don't know what he's doing down there.
Well, they've gone into a bit of save the game or red or...
De Koning. Shot is behind. Across the face, 21-14, 140. West Coast 9-9-63. It's a 77-point lead for Carlton. So the Eagles have outscored the Blues by 5 in the second half.
West Coast work it to the wing. Williams got his hands on it. Hewitt out the back and take off. Hand passes to Gaff. He gets it back. Hewitt loops the hand pass over the top to Marek. Finds some room to move, and that's a nice kick towards half forward. And Noah Long wants to play on. Kicks to full forward. And Sheed's marked, and we'll have the last kick of the afternoon. deep in the right forward pocket.
He could go boundary.
He comes in, sends it through for a late West Coast goal, but it was Carlton's day at Docklands, back in finals contention for a 71-point victory over West Coast.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions they like to send up. We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
It was a game Carlton just needed to win, and the signs were ominous early. They kicked the first 9 goals of the game to reach a 57-point margin at quarter time. We were all on Charlie Curnow watch. He had 4 in the first quarter as Carlton's lead blew out to 82 at half-time. Injuries meant that West Coast made it a competitive second half. Motlop with a calf injury, Silvani with a knee, and Sam Walsh with a hamstring soured what was a really great day for the Blues. Charlie Curnow kicked a career-high 10 goals. They remain in the finals hunt while consigning West Coast to a 16th loss in a row.
We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll kick our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues.
The goal kickers, so Curnow with 10, 2 for Motlop, 1 each for Silvani, Dow, Walsh, Newman, Cunningham, Hewitt, Ed Curnow, Honey and Chincotta. Meanwhile for the West Coast Eagles, Jack Darling the only multiple, and then 1 each for Gaff, Sheed, Petrevsky-Seaton, Cripps, Petrocelli, Bailey Williams, Marrick and Long. Still had 9 different goal kickers, the West Coast Eagles. 21-14, 140. Carlton over West Coast, 10-9-69. The Blue Baggers. The bandwagon is full, but you can try and run behind it because they are back in the 8. Carlton are in 7th spot on the premiership table as it sits at the moment. And for the West Coast Eagles, their club record losing skid extends to a 16th game. Charlie Curnow with 10, a career best haul. And a career day for him. He leads the Coleman medal by 11, ahead of Taylor Walker. And for the Blues, really the only sour point out of the game is the hamstring injury to Sam Walsh, the knee complaint to Jack Silvani, while for the West Coast Eagles, they lost their skipper, Luke Shuey, again to another soft tissue injury, did his hamstring in the second term, and they're well beaten once more in season 2023, 71 points, the final margin here today. Brendan Goddard and Zach Merritt watched it all with us on Grandstand AFL. We got there. The final siren. That's 4 quarters in the book.
It wasn't as painful as I thought it would be sitting there at half-time, was it? So, good response from West Coast. What was the second half scores, Corbs?
So
I know it's 8 goals.
Yeah, 8 goals, 5 West Coast.
Yep.
To 6 goals, 6.
There you go. So small wins.
Yep.
For West Coast after a slow start. We all hope that it didn't start like it did, and a 9-goal first quarter to Carlton really put the result to bed really early. So it was a good response. Just glimpses of West Coast and their future with Hewitt, Xavier O'Neill, which who I've never seen play before, with respect, but showed some really good things when he came on as sub and playing midfield, played a little bit up forward. What are you laughing at?
No,
I don't know who he is.
I thought maybe you'd watch a few West Coast games here and there, but I can understand.
I don't actually. I'm not like Zachy. I actually don't sit at home and...
You would have seen a bit of Xavier O'Neill.
And watch footy. Yeah. I'm not a big...
Played against him.
Footy head. But, so there's some positives to come out of it in West Coast. It wasn't all doom and gloom. Oscar Allen as a full-back. So what Charlie's got 6 to half-time, ends up with 10.
7 to half-time.
7 to half-time.
Yep, he went 4 in the first, 3 in the second, 2 in the third, and 1 in the last. Which is a beautiful numeric downgrade. 4-3-2-1.
Yep. So actually, yeah. So you could say that Oscar Allen's done a good job. On one of those in the second half, Tom Cole found himself on him, so it wasn't direct. There was a poor turnover to the midfield, which is always hard to defend. So Oscar Allen, I think you alluded to the fact he kicked the goal in every game, then turns full back and does a really good job on the best forward in the competition at the minute. So there is some positives. And another sour note, I think Luke Shuey should just, whenever they travel, just don't get on the bird, mate. Just stay at home. So he's had a horrid run. Kind of the last couple of years with soft tissue injury. He's been a high power, high explosive player. So captain of the footy team.
On the bench too.
So obviously nearing the end of his career, or closer to the end than he is the start. So you just wish you could kind of go out in your own terms in a sense. So with only 5 weeks now to the end of the season, depending on the severity of the hamstring issue, it could well, arguably be kind of last ever game he played. But let's hope not for his sake. To go out in the right way.
And he's 33. He's had a sequence of soft tissue injuries. It'll be a complete reversal of everything we know about sports science and everything else, that he would just play a prolonged stretch and not have a soft tissue injury. Unfortunately for him, he's just in this ongoing loop, isn't he, where he'll play a period of footy and then he'll have a soft tissue injury, he'll play a period of footy, then he'll have another one, and unfortunately again here he's strung a few games together and he's gone down once more. What did you say today, Zach?
20 minutes of footy basically set the game up. It was a pretty impressive first 20 or 30 minutes from Carlton all across the grounds. Just haven't watched them play the last month of footy since they've been playing some really good footy, so it was good to see them live and how they're doing it and how they're going about it, moving the footy pretty aggressively, but are looking to go forward and getting it into Charlie. I'm sure Harry would have had a good day as well had he been out there, but to see the guys, I think, underlining, obviously Cripps and Walsh and these guys are probably the front show, but to see Chera out, Cripps out, and the guys that stood up around the ball, to see Dow play well, Doherty always performs, whether he's at half-back or in the middle, and then I think Newman and Sard off half-back penetrate with the ball and really get it inside 50 quick here at Marvel. It seems to be a bit of a shorter ground that you're only a kick mark overlap away from getting it deep inside 50, and Charlie was the beneficiary of some good work up the field.
You played them, I think, around the bye, would have been King's birthday weekend on that Sunday before the holiday game. Do they look a completely different team than the one that the Bombers faced that day? Yeah,
completely different. I think they only had, 33 tackles that night in a greasy night at the G, and today they brought an appetite to defend and tackle around the contest. I think they still probably out-tackled West Coast on pure numbers, but their ability to close space and turn it over in the contest, looking at their kicking efficiency, it was only just a touch over 60, but their ability to hit the right person or kick to advantage and turn up on that spill ball and get the ball moving forward, their ability to go fast and slow at the right time was quite good throughout the whole game. So, their ability, again, to score was quite impressive all day. But, Charlie, again, to see that live as a pure footy fan was pretty special.
There's nothing better, is there, when the key forward and the game's up and going, and I know that's why they're paying the big bucks, but to see a proper bag like that where he ends up getting 10, and at one point it probably looked like he was sort of write your own number. He's going to get 12, 13, whatever it could have been.
Yeah, I think centre half forward, full forward, and potentially those high half forward roles are so hard to really be consistent in, and Charlie has a knack, regardless of if he's kicking goals, he impacts the game and draws defenders to him. So I'm sure his teammates absolutely love looking up the field and seeing him forward of the footy.
Clash of heads at the gather between Dane Zorko and Patrick Dangerfield. So blood rule for Zorko, and play's been held up, but there's about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. We'll get you there for the start of the second term. Low scoring affair. Brisbane 1-5 over Geelong, 3 behind, so an 8-point lead early for the Brisbane Lions. The winners, Saturday afternoon footy, Carlton by 71 here over West Coast. Meanwhile, at the G, it was a 1-point victory for Richmond over Hawthorn. Let's go down and celebrate with the winners. Carlton home by 71 on a big day for Charlie Curnow. Ian Cohen is in the rooms. Goza.
Yes, they are stacked about 8 deep, obviously, the crowd, as the boys are making their way in. Chris Judd amongst the crowd, and obviously mixed emotions for him. A Carlton man now. Brian Cook, obviously the CEO, big smile on his face. Michael Voss has made his way down. There's the 10-goal kicker, Charlie Curnow, in the middle, just organising this little sing-along at the moment. So, winners are grinners. It is a happy, happy place at the moment down here in the Blues rooms, as the executive and president make their way in as well. Diesel Williams amongst those. as I think Mitch McGovern's just grabbed his little one to come up and join the circle. But a huge win. And I think there might be a couple of Kernos also making their way. And I can see Ed with a couple of kids over with the crowd. Charlie's beckoning to him at the moment. So there's no rules at the moment. When you win by that much and you're flying and it's your 5th 50-point win in a row, you are travelling beautifully. I think they're forming up for the song now. Ed Kerno, the last man in.
We are the navy blues. We are the old dark navy blues. We're the team, never let you down. We're the only team of carlton. We're all the champions. Like send us, keep your hands up. They know that they'll be playing against famous old dark blues.
Thanks, Koza. We'll come back to you for some quick reaction if we can squeeze it in time, if we get some initial response. If not, we'll record a chat and we'll hear from the baggers a little later on. Oscar Allen, goalless today, obviously played 3 quarters down back. He's kicked almost 29% of the Eagles' score in season 2023, 71-point win for Carlton. Dave messaged us earlier asking about how Charlie would go against West Coast head-to-head. In the end, it was Sheed's goal on the siren that separated them. So Charlie finished with 63 points, 10-3-63. West Coast got the 10-9 on the back of Sheed's last goal. Quickly back to the Carlton rooms. Ian Cohen.
Absolutely, Corby. We're down here with the acting captain in Jacob Wiedering. You won the toss and then you pretty much won everything all day. Take us through that match.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we just wanted to bring pressure and effort and contest. And no matter who we play, regardless of sort of how West Coast was going, we just wanted to bring a solid, consistent game of football. And I thought our first half was very, very good. 16 points against and just the way we moved the ball was selfless and we worked for each other. Second half, bit to work on, but overall, great win.
Wasn't quite front row seats for you. You were sitting more 3 back to the Charlie Kerno show. You've got a big smile on your face when I mention his name.
Yeah, no, he's an unbelievable player and very humble. He deserves a reward. He didn't quite get there last time, so we made sure to get into double digits. But no, he's having a hell of a year. And even with Harry going down, it's not just about the goals. It's about winning and halving contests. And just so us, gets it to ground, the smalls can get some reward as well. And yeah, 10's a pretty nice number for him. So very happy.
Jacob Wiedering with us this afternoon. Upstairs is Zach Merritt and Brendan Goddard.
Jacob, Brendan Goddard, well done, mate. You highlighted just that first half in particular. Was that the messaging at half time from the coaches? Just, yes, you're in front, well in front, mind you, but just the way it looked and how you guys were actually playing the game and got the game on your terms?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at some pretty basic stats. I guess our pressure, our tackles, our front half game. Points against was obviously also, I mentioned that. But, yeah, we wanted to go out and try and do that again. Obviously, it was, to be fair, I was a little bit disappointed with sort of the way we played for about 10-15 minutes there. But sometimes you got to win the arm wrestle. So, I mean, the boys cracked in. It's hard to play the way we played in the first half for an entire game. But, again, just a really solid outing for the boys. And, yeah, good prep for next week against the Pies. And
it was obviously well publicised, probably in the first 8 to 10 weeks of the year about your game style, particularly offence. But what we've seen in the last month is a clear kind of trend towards getting more speed on the ball. Is trying to explain to the listeners about just the work that teams and probably yourselves are doing at training and how that's a bit of a work in progress and how it can take some time to change. Do you feel like it's now kind of the things you've been working on have really come out in your game in the last month?
Yeah, definitely. I guess from the outside, everyone's looking at our ball movement, how many points we're scoring and our defence, but it really comes down to the contest. And if you're not winning it out of the middle, then you're not getting your hands on the ball. So I've got to give credit to the middies over the last sort of 5 to 6 weeks and the way they've cracked in. Even without Cripper and Jez today, I thought they did a terrific job. And off the back of that, we can play some front half footy and intercept in our front half and keep it in our front half. And that's how you win games. So, again, we're just getting a lot more opportunities and better looks inside 50. And, yeah, we're executing up forward, which is awesome.
Yeah, where does Zach Merritt here, mate? Great game yourself individually again today, but obviously a great team win. Just watching today, Paddy Dow was super, had a great game, well-rounded game. Obviously been churning away in the VFL for large parts of the season. I'm sure you're happy to see him playing some consistent and good footy as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was probably some opinions out there that we probably had too many big-bodied mids, but it's nice having that depth. I mean, as I mentioned, Cripper and Ches were out, and we had sort of the next man up, and Dowie has been working away. He's been unbelievable from a leadership perspective, and the way he's contested down at VFL, and he comes in and does a super job for us. So we've got guys like Walshy doing a job, Foggs, Cunners coming in. It was a good day to get some guys in there and get some time. So quality from them.
I don't know, Jacob, if you're getting injury updates during play, but do you know how Jack Silvani or Sam Walsh are?
Yeah, no, I literally just talked to them after. I mean, they're a little bit sore, and that's to be expected. It's hard when you see guys of that quality go down, and guys that have been putting in unbelievable effort. So cross the fingers, hope for the best, and we've got to go against the Pies. So it doesn't matter who we got out there. We've got to bring pressure and contest.
We'll see you Friday night. Well done on the win.
Thanks, guys. Cheers for having me.
Jacob Wiedering, their star fullback for the Blues on the back of a 71-point win. Charlie Curnow finishes with 10 goals, but Walsh a hammy, Silvani a knee injury. Meanwhile, for the West Coast Eagles, Luke Shuey did his hammy. It was really all over at quarter time. They kicked 9 goals to zip in the first term. Quarter time at the Gabba, Brisbane lead it. They've kicked the only 2 goals in the game, so 2-5 to 3 behind. It's a 14-point advantage for Brisbane. Earlier today, the Tigers came from 36 down to beat Hawthorn by a point. Beach, the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Didn't want to throw Zach out of the bus and give him that kind of pressure. It's quite important, a prestigious award, isn't it, Corbin?
Yes.
So we had the discussion earlier about how many quarters it kind of takes to feature in the votes and having the influence in the game, in particular in the first half when the whips are cracking. But unfortunately, Sam Walsh doesn't get a vote today, even though his first quarter and a half was clearly, well, along with Charlie, obviously, who kicked 4 in the first quarter, was best on ground. So I'll give 1 vote to George Hewitt.
Yep.
I got his first name right.
That's right.
Yep.
Correct, we're on the clock.
Sam Doherty, 2 votes. Was there consistently through all 4 quarters, and it's quite obvious. Don't even have to mention his name. But as Jess Webster alluded to, King Charles.
Yep.
With the 10 goals today. So, phenomenal effort to get into double digits. We talked about at the start of the game how many he would kick, and he fell too short of what I predicted. And Zachy.
Oh, the recency bias has struck. So 1 to George Hewitt, 2 to Doherty, 3 to Charlie Curnow. How does the rest of the weekend look, Zach? So you play next Saturday night. The Swans who you play are on this evening. What do you get up to?
Watching more footy by the sound of it.
Yeah, no, actually we've had 2 6-day breaks the last 2 weeks. I think the boys were a little bit gassed late in the game last night. So I think Brad's instruction was get away, have the weekend off, rest up physically and mentally and emotionally if you want to go there, and then get ready to come in Monday to get back into work. And obviously we've got a pretty big game next week with where our season is, but the fact we're in contention is extremely exciting, and it's going to be a pretty tight finish to the season for probably 6 or 7 teams.
BJ will know that I mean this. Good luck for the run home in the remaining 5 weeks. All the very best to your Bombers, having an all-Australian calibre year. Zach Merritt,
your Bombers? It's gone to our Bombers.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm the odd one out here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'm kind of on the peripheral as well there, but when you're talking, Corbin,
thanks for coming.
The fact that you're a mad Essendon supporter.
Thanks for coming in, Zach. Hopefully you'll be back, and fingers crossed I'll give you a closer game next time you join us on Grandstand AFL. Signing off from Docklands, Charlie Curnow, the star, with a bag of 10. Carlton get home by 71 points thanks to our entire crew. Off to the Gabba for Brisbane and Geelong. The Lions lead.